Order. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call. Richard? Here. Adrian? Here. Monica? Here. Ernie? Here. Roll call. Approval of minutes from regular meeting held on March 5th, 2019.
I noticed an error this morning on our minutes that I produced for you guys. The first, on approval 5, it says approval of the minutes. I actually put 4 with Councilperson Lopez, but in fact it should say absent.
Should it say absent two on
On number
6?
6, yes, it doesn't say anything on number 6.
I'll make a motion, we approve minutes from regular meeting held on March the 5th, 2019.
I second that.
We have a motion by Richard to approve the minutes on March 5th, 2019, a second by Juanita. Roll call. Richard? 4. Adrian? 4. Juanita? 4. Ernie? 4. Motion passes. Approval of minutes from special meeting held on March 11th, 2019.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from the special meeting held on March 11th, 2019.
Second.
We have a motion by Adrian, a second by Richard to approve the minutes from the special meeting held on March 11th, 2019. Roll call. Richard?
4.
Adrian? 4. Juanita? 4. Ernie? 4. Motion passes. Approval of tonight's agenda for March 19th, 2019.
Make a motion to approve the agenda for March 19th, 2019.
I second that.
We have a motion by Adrian, a second by Juanita to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting. Roll call. Richard? 4. Adrian?
4.
Juanita? 4. Ernie? 4. Motion passes. And finally, approval of voucher list for February 2019.
I'll make a motion for approval of voucher list for February 2019.
I just want to ask a couple questions on the voucher. Just line item 32 and 51, they're pretty much similar, but one says tire repair.
Is general? What is it? 31?
32 and 51. I guess the only thing I noticed is difference is the tire return and the tire return. It's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Well, AC is animal control.
Oh, that was it, so tire return.
Different prices.
I think AC.
No.
Oh,
51,
no.
51, it says, street dump truck, tire repair used for sweeper / AC tire repair.
It's just pretty similar, so I just kind of.
And then 32, it says, street dump truck, tire repair used tire for sweeper. We're paying sweeper twice.
I wanted to say,
Elaborate on the AC.
did you say tire repair then?
Yeah.
We'll check on that.
And then, the line item 63 and 64, exact same thing. The general, what's under gas?
Oh, yes.
Alright. So gas and water, so that's pretty, I was just curious of the same description.
So certain people are paid out of gas and certain people are paid out of water. That's group benefits, so I'm assuming that's the reason for that.
Yes.
And I'm assuming that there's probably one of those. No.
Yes.
Because some are paid out of,
Yeah, that's our health
some
insurance.
employees are paid out of gas and some employees are paid out of water. And actually, if you look under the general, there is, you can see the kids go, financial, and
No, that's
police,
just
and,
police
so,
station.
town hall and the public works, together, that's enough.
Oh, okay. I just same there, so I was kind of curious, I didn't know if they would break it down. for the-
I'm not 100% sure on this, but I want to say that's going to be like a one-time fee, because that's pretty low, $481 in our general. Typically, it's about $1,000 per person.
I'm wondering if they personalize those books, is that on the card? For the group bank?
No?
Yeah,
They personalize it?
Yeah, is that what you know?
Well, I know
They
that
do.
Phyllis was in there that day, we were talking about that.
okay, so that might be what
It might be
it
what it is. We can check
is,
on
even though
that.
it was
Can we
February.
double check on all of those?
Yeah,
Is this the description, the same stuff, that would be,
yeah, it's definitely our health benefits. I'm just not sure, it looks too low to be our health benefits.
Actually, benefits,
And then on the general fund, number 73, damage to a resident or,
She just left, but what happened was, a son called from out of state that his mother may have been deceased inside the home. So he gave us permission to break down the door, and so we broke down the door, and we went inside, and ended up that she was not answering the door, for some whatever reason. But we ended up fixing the door for her because, but we did get permission from the son before we broke down.
And a landlord.
And the landlord for the home. So that was the reason for the breaking down of the door.
so that's meaning that if somebody calls
okay to break it.
about an individual, that they do something wrong and they break down the door, are we gonna fix every broken door that
Yeah,
we break?
yes, that's true.
I don't know, this
So-
is a unique situation. I was
Go break
surprised
my door,
when
man,
I
you
got
got
to
to
this. I thought it would be on the landlord.
Can we have silence, please?
You would think I'd have over half the key. Well, again, I think she may have changed the lock too, which would be okay.
She's gonna be here back in the minute, we can ask him, or we can ask him there's gonna be,
392,119 for a door?
maybe try to buy a door lady?
No, but I
And
mean,
reframe it.
And it was an emergency too, the guy had to come up here, so.
Do you want me to answer that
Yes.
question?
Yes, please.
All right. What happens in situations like that, when we get calls of an emergency, say for instance a relative has not heard from their relative and has not seen them in several days, or friends or family, like in this situation, this is what happened. We received a call from the son who hadn't heard from his mom in over 2 weeks and suspected, since she's sick, suspected that she was dead in her house. Under the act that we went is the Caretakers Act. When we go to investigate these calls and we get no response from the residents or anybody there, under that law, we have a right to enter without a warrant to check on the safety of that person. In this situation, the individual was in Albuquerque, she was in a hospital, but we never got any word from the son or anybody else that she was still in the hospital. We took it as face value that this individual needed emergency help at that time. And that's why we executed that warrant. And it's standard throughout the state that anytime officers go to any house where they're acting under the Caretaker Act or emergency, they have the right to kick those doors in. And yes, the towns, cities are responsible to replace them.
And just real quick, did the landlord have a key or no?
The landlord was not around at that time, and we got the call, and it was like, he was frantic and saying, I haven't heard from my mom, and blah, blah, blah. So that's when we went over to the house and did what we had to do. But the door was eventually, it was replaced. It cost a little bit extra because we had to get somebody from Berlin. All the other places that we contacted wouldn't come out here because it was too far. So that's how we ended up with that. I think it was Berlin.
Yeah.
Toby's? or something?
Yeah, Toby's doors.
Yeah, they were the only ones that were willing to come out and fix it.
How long did it take for them to come out?
It took them almost about a week, 2 weeks, They had to get quotes, we sent pictures, and then they lost them, we had to send them again. And the whole time, the house was secure, so the victim there was never in any danger of anything. So when we finally decided to fix it, that's when it came out. We did it in like under an hour when they finally got out there.
I had a question on the front page of general, number 39, car rental, what's, I don't quite know.
Car rental was for Officer Martinez when he went to the SRO training in Dallas, Texas. So we paid for him to have a rental car so they could get from the airport to his hotel and to training and back.
So there's no way taking the police car all the way now?
That
That makes sense, carry on. Yeah.
46 miles.
80 miles now, come on. All right, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions?
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion by Ernie, a second by, does the motion still stand, Ernie? Yes. Motion by Ernie, a second by Richard, roll call Richard.
4.
Adrian? 4. Juanita? 4. Ernie? 4. Passes, we have no old business today. Item number 10, approval of budget request for Saul building renovations. As you know, the Saul has not had any TLC for a very, very long time. And so we're wanting to actually change that up a little bit. So, some of the things that we want to do is a speaker system. Obviously, the speakers, as Dennis was explaining a little bit earlier, we always have a problem because the speakers are always in the front. The people in the front are always getting that loud, I mean, it's right there in front of their face, and then the people in the back can't hear nothing. So what we want is kind of like a surround system type thing. I'm kind of thinking church. Every time I pulled up speaker systems in large areas, churches always came up. That's why there's big old crosses and stuff. But so something similar to that with some speakers in the front and the back. Next up, we want some kind of lighting. Now, lighting is going to be a little bit tricky. We have to actually see what the building can actually handle, and if it can handle such lighting with speakers. So I would say that speakers is first priority, and then really lighting would be second priority. And then some other things that we obviously need to do is window repair, roof repair, painting, redesignation of the rooms, stage and ticket booth remodel, door repair, and signs and history. Signs and history, I think that it's only, there's a really good picture of Dr. Saul. I don't know, I'm sure everyone's seen it, I think it's even at the drugstore. But I really want to get that blown up and probably put that somewhere in the building and kind of describe just a little bit of the history of the building, something like that. So these are just things that we've talked about over the, through here on council, at town hall, just different things. But we kind of just want to get a budget going. Now, the main primary thing that we have to do is masonry work up on the roof. And that's an easy $10,000, just so everyone is aware. So, and that includes the material and the actual service to repair it. So, that's going to be primary. That's obviously the first item. And then if you guys want to add some more stuff, I know the door is in bad shape.
Yeah, door needs to be pretty simple, at least fixed. And also, we may add electrical in there, because I know when my band used to play there, we blow the circuits all the time.
Well, I think electrical would come in with the lighting and the speaker system. I really think that, well, we may have to update that.
Yeah.
That may be one of the first things we update in order to suffice everything else.
Air conditioning.
With air conditioning, you know what I really want to do? I really like those large fans. Like, they're like 6 feet large fans. Just put like 3 or 4 of those and just like,
That's all we need.
let the air kind of go through. Because right now, I think the thing is there's no motion of air. It's just like there. So if we can get some really big fans going, I really think that would help with that system. I don't know if it's really, I guess we could put an AC unit, but I think that we should try something less expensive.
And it's in the on the historical.
It is on the historical, which is good, but not good as well. And the reason for that is it's good because it's on the historical registry, but the bad thing is you can't do a lot of things to it because it's on the historical registry. So we have to really look at what we can and cannot do and determine if we want to keep it as a historically registered thing, which I know a lot of people do and I do too. But if it limits us to actually fix the building and make it productive for what we want to see in it in the future, it may be something that we may have to do, unfortunately. Yes.
Just a question. question.
I'm so sorry to do this, but can you go up to the podium because people on the camera always say that they can't hear.
My voice they can't hear.
They can't hear.
How's it gonna be amplified?
Okay, all I wanted to ask was, you know where the chairs and the tables are always put, kind of that makeshift room? Would that, to me, that's a danger.
That is coming down.
Okay, yeah.
So, that's something that I've always hated. I don't know why it was put up, but.
Yeah, Peter talked about that before.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's like my biggest pet peeve of that building, is just that thing. And that's where actually the designation of rooms comes in, because that first room to the left when you walk in, I think that should be like where the tables and chairs are located. So that way, they're
In
locked
that
up.
real room.
In the real room, yes.
Okay.
And then the other room, there's another room there. That room is full of files, and I totally want to get those moved out of there and actually use it for something else. I don't know what yet, but something other than a room full of files.
File cabinets or files?
Historical files.
Everything.
Oh, wow.
On a positive note, in that room, we already have a 32-channel mixer, so part of the sound system's already purchased. I purchased it about 10 years ago.
And
With
it's
Logitech.
still,
Oh, it's brand
It's
new.
outdated.
I mean, I bought it with this, that PA system, the stage, and the canopy.
Dated.
And I really, one of the big things is, when I put that stage and ticket booth remodel, I really think the ticket booth is like a big drawing point. I mean, if you put some, red lights in there or something and open up the window, something,
Oh, yeah.
it would be really cool at night. And then stage. It blows my mind that the stage isn't used. I mean, the stage
Oh,
is so
yes.
nice,
Yeah.
and we use it to hold Garero.
Yeah. I like it.
Maybe people can't even sell tickets from the ticket booth at some point.
So, I don't know, I really think that we need to like fix those stairs going up, well, not fix them, but just make sure they're sturdy going up to the stage area. Redo the outlets right there, and that's where electrical comes in. So, right now in recreation, we have 8,500. In promo, we have 1,648. And in larger stacks, we have 14,661.
Oh, yeah, but you can't reservation.
So, we have about 22,000.
Have we got all the tables and everything?
We need more. We could definitely use more. But we have some nice ones. I mean, we have nice ones, but whenever we got them, whoever marked them, instead of marking them on the bottom, marked them like on the back. And it just looks really tacky when you're like at a wedding and it's like, oh, cover. Oh, yeah, teal one. There we go.
This Tom.
So what are we thinking? Well, obviously we have to do the masonry, so is that, we can do the masonry for $10,000 is gonna be up there?
Yeah, that's a must, that's a safety issue.
I don't know if you guys have seen the picture. Did you guys saw them last time? Did you guys see the picture?
In one time.
And if you guys haven't seen the pictures, they're basically rocks all over the roof.
Oh, they're
Probably one of the
loose.
worst things that you've probably seen, so.
And they need to do that before they do the roof, because if they do the roof, they're just gonna drop the rest of it. Damage the roof. Or fall on somebody's head.
So some of these things are obviously after the fact. The stage and ticket booth remodel can wait. The redesignation of rooms, that's obviously like, I think just manpower. That's not even really, money wise. Painting, obviously, that's, we're not, I don't know how much that is. Roof will probably be like next fiscal year, I would assume, after we can take care of it.
I have a question. Just, alright, I just wanted to know how the flooring was. No. No, I just had a question about like the flooring. How's the flooring in the building? Maybe that needs to be redone a little bit, or?
I don't know if we have the funds to do that.
I know one time we were gonna do the re-sanding or whatever you call it, and never got that far.
What is that one, do you know?
And I can't remember what the deal was at that time. Yeah. It's supposed to be a big belt sander, and it's supposed to sand the whole. And I remember one of us volunteered putting some of that wood body, using that
They got embarrassed, right?
I think there was one guy that tried doing a little bit of it, but I think they done a quick like and took off. Started doing John's.
Maybe we can get a quote on that.
And I think, redesigning of the rooms, and maybe we could get some people to volunteer, like they volunteered over there at the park we were doing there. But it'll probably be the same individuals.
It'd be nice to be done.
They get the sending this for almost, so I'll do it on my time.
Yeah.
Can we take it?
We need space for it. Now, a lot of it's gonna be destroyed. I'm gonna come to, that's probably the next meeting for a destruction order. So a lot of those files can be destroyed.
Is the basement any good for putting files down there or not?
Well,
No, it's no.
moving the stuff down there would be hard.
Yeah.
Because of the furnace, isn't it? The furnace is down there.
No.
There's a water heater down there, but is there a furnace? No, because
The old furnace used to be
top.
there. This- Yeah, I got there no more.
They're suspended.
And that's not good floor in there.
It is good.
Yeah, it's
There's that one little concrete in that back
a
room.
little bit there and then the rest of it's pretty much gravel.
So what would you say your top three are? I think mine would be masonry, speaker system, lighting could come later,
By security building doors.
and then windows and doors.
Yeah.
The roof I think would come later because we're gonna do the masonry first, but we're trying to get a grant for the roof.
70,000.
Yeah, because it's gonna be a pretty thin. Masonry, speakers, and windows and doors. Which windows, I mean, we just passed the winter, but windows are a big thing. Well, that can be good with the windows and doors. We always like blast the heater and then have like all windows open. Well, not open, but broken.
And one of the things, I don't think we'll actually put it at the recreation, but maybe we'll pull out of gas. But I think we need to put a new meter on that, because we don't know how much we're using there. And when I do the EIA 176 to the federal government, I don't know what to pull out for municipal use, because we're not really monitoring it.
I was mentioning that.
How much is the going rate to rent that place?
It's actually really low, actually, not bad at all. And if you, I think the majority of the cost is actually the deposit, and then if you write a check, we don't even cash the deposit, so really, you're just paying the rental fee, and then as long as you clean it, we rip up the deposit or give it back to you, whatever. But, I mean, I wanna say it's 200,
Yeah, it's 200 for rental, 150 deposit.
and that includes Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it's $50 a day, if you look at it that way.
That's a deal.
I mean, it's a deal, it really is.
I don't know, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
So, maybe it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
When was the last time you,
Maybe Thursday night.
I know, I did it. Here's the
when
one.
was the last time it was raised?
We raised it when I was on council, so it's been like 3 years. Yeah.
It's always Thursday.
You just,
I didn't know
It's
that.
always been Thursday.
We didn't know that.
Come on.
Well, that's the
We get
thing.
graded on
If
Friday.
we repair it and we have, provide a sound system and a lot of other things, right now it's just a building.
You can
Literally,
raise
that's all
it.
it is.
That's scary.
So,
The sound system and lighting has been something that's been on my mind for 10, 12 years. The big issue is if we rent it out, we're gonna have to have somebody there to control it, because we don't wanna just let the public start fiddling with all these things, because they're gonna just trash it.
But that-
Especially with the
that's
sound
easy.
system.
You can work that out, that's, you
Yeah,
know, the building is an investment. It's
Yeah.
an investment in the community.
and I don't know, to tell you the truth, I think a lot of people, I don't know if a lot of people actually use it, they usually get like a DJ or something, so as long as you know, I mean, pretty much for the same, I mean, every dance that I've been to in the past 5 dances have been like Ricky.
Yeah.
Or Manuel.
yeah.
So I mean, as long as you teach, I think, a couple people how to use it, or have someone that's designated, I think it would be a problem.
Yeah, one of the things is, as long as it's permanently mounted, we should be fine, but if it's not permanently mounted, like if we rent it out, if the speaker is not plugged in to the sound system, you will fry the
It makes
power
it-
ramp.
yeah.
It just goes like that.
I think we should shoot for more, in something like not being able to move, I would say. So,
If they're gonna use a sound system, you can charge more.
Okay, so how much are we designated for all this? I would say $10,000 for the masonry. Because that's what we basically know. Speaker system, me and Dennis were saying between 3 and 5. And then windows and doors, what would you say for that?
We just paid $300 for a door. It's gonna be more expensive. We all need them.
The main door that you go in, because no one uses the other door on your left side of the building. It's always the right side door. And it's just the one door actually. But I don't know if you would have to replace the whole doors or both doors to make it all match.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
the hard part.
You have to match it, can't be
Right.
tacky. No tacky.
So it's one door, but,
Those doors are probably expensive.
oh my gosh, I think they're like almost like $1,000.
I
And that
think,
doesn't include
I
insulation.
think a priority has got to be the electrical. I mean, that before even the lighting, you don't know what it's capable of handling.
Yeah.
You don't know
Well,
if your wiring is,
we actually do know what it's capable of, it's not much. Anytime we cater an event, like Dwayne Jones, he's tripped fuses like that, because he's got 6 or 7 crock pots going, and boom, it's gone. When the movie came here, they had to have their own generator.
so you know you're gonna have to upgrade.
Electrical windows.
It's like
and
200
doors.
amps.
At least 200, I mean, my
Oh,
house
no,
is
no, I mean, I
200.
think it is 200 amp, I think we need more.
Or 240.
Yeah.
Electrical windows and doors, I'd say.
We put the
You wanna take care of your security too, the building?
electricity before the
Cameras.
speakers.
No,
Well, that
at
should be
least to have
maybe
doors.
included in that.
See, then
It's gonna be more than $5,000.
Yeah. Maybe get a quote on it,
Yeah, I would say we get a quote.
and then reprioritize based on the quotes.
Well, okay, if we do anything tonight, I would say that we had actually approved the masonry, we could get that out of the way, because that has nothing to do with the inside. And then the other ones we can either hold off, or we can get quotes on the windows, get quotes on the doors, get quotes on the speaker, and get quotes on the electricity, and all that. Sounds like good.
Jeopardy.
Yeah.
Jeopardy.
Any more?
So we're just making approvals to get all the codes done.
Well, while we're approving the maintenance.
What is?
Or do we want to get a quote first for that? I mean, I don't know. Or is that the same thing?
You know, he got one quote for that 10,000, that's where he based it on. I think he's talking to another guy.
But we can approve it, and then if it becomes, if the other guy comes in less, then we just go with that one. Because it's gonna be, it's either gonna be this or less. So we can approve for 10,000 if we want to. And then, once we get the other quote, if it's the cheaper one, we'll go with that one, if it's not, we'll go with this one.
I think with our main priority
That's gonna like $10,000.
because as strong winds that we have,
There's just no way water makes cost
And
$10,000.
that is very dangerous, I mean, God forbid someone sending another one of those rocks in the fall, but.
Speak clearly.
Got a question, you guys got a quote for 10,000 to do mortar for the top, so mortar mix costs $10,000?
I don't know what's involved, I have no
Yeah.
idea what.
I'm in construction, I've done construction for 16 years, so I don't think mortar costs $10,000, you know what I mean?
So that includes both that and installation, I don't know if that,
That shouldn't be that much, hardly at all.
pretty big area. No.
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
$10,000
I'm just-
is a lot for
I
mortar.
don't know, I'm just wondering, I mean, I have no idea.
That's a lot of money for mortar mix, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
And I know the guy that brought this quote, this 10K, was the one that did the Rock Motel, that Park we're gonna do.
Well, that's why, because he does
Yeah,
he does goodie work. You know what I mean? So he's a contractor, so he's gonna charge way above than what it really costs to do it. I've been in that business, so $10,000 seems a bit much for a mortar mix.
What do you
Yeah,
think
for labor
it
work.
should be?
Give me that estimate.
I mean,
I'd have to look at it, I can give him an estimate myself.
It's the
I've
rock
done
up
that.
on top.
I've done that
do
for
you have
16
to
years.
consider the square footage of the area that?
Just by looking at it, I would know exactly what it would cost just by
Oh, yeah.
looking at
It's
it.
the rock on top of the building.
Yeah.
So the only thing is, I mean, the only thing is the person that we get has to be insured,
Yeah, no, that's fine.
like all that stuff.
Yeah, bottom and everything, all that. Yeah. No, that's fine.
Yeah,
I would say I'd like to see the quotes and then we go from there.
Because, yeah, mortar mix shouldn't cost $10,000, even for labor work and mortar mix, there's just no way.
okay.
Sorry, but no.
No,
Yeah.
no, that's good, I'm glad you're here,
Yeah,
because I would have no idea.
I mean, we're here to save our town money, not give it away.
Absolutely.
Okay,
So
thank
you
you.
can give them a quote?
Yeah, I can get up there and look at it, if they would allow me to.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So we're just gonna wait on quotes for everything then. Which is fine.
That's for sure.
No, you can save money, you can save money.
So I wanna ask this question then. If we get, should I bring everything, when we get the quotes, like everything at once? Or if we get the quotes for like the masonry, bring that and then just bring it, it could be like, what are you guys feeling on that?
You know, everything's gonna get a start on. I mean, you'll have a starting point.
Everything?
You know, delay, you think we do it by next meeting? Or
Yeah,
or it'd be a
2
month?
meetings.
Like a month?
This is the job for our public works administrator.
April, we gotta start starting by,
But Jeff, maybe that the, like the recreational, get
This
the
is
whole
just to
few,
put the rock down.
about a million in July.
It's loose.
So,
No, no, that's what I'm saying, so it should be cheap.
I just kinda hate the Russian things, I just like to get, see how big.
Absolutely.
They are.
So let's do that, let's,
Just loosen the most.
if someone wants to make a motion to table this for a month, and then we'll bring it back to school.
Everything's so expensive.
I don't know.
Ridiculous.
I make a motion to table the budget request for the Dr. Saul building until we get the quotes.
Second.
A motion by Adrian, a second by Richard, to table this for 1 month, 2 meetings from today. Roll call, Richard?
Four.
Adrian? Four. Juanita? Four. Bernie? Four. Motion passes. And real quick, I just want to confirm, that's a quote for windows and doors, speakers, electrical, masonry.
Yep.
That's everything, right? Painting?
I mean, it'd be nice to see everything, if we can get more, that'd be great, I think, and see what we could really budget for.
Painting.
The signs in history would be nice to see though too.
That I think would be really simple. I can imagine that would cost more than $500, if that.
Well, there's a lot of repairs, I mean, you're talking about painting inside.
See what
No,
doctor said.
no, there's not like the Dr. Saul
Should
and.
use my doctor too.
Okay, perfect, moving on. Approval to offer financial assistance to the town of Escalante for the swimming pool. Escalante trustee Stella Chavez.
Thank you, Mayor, Clerk, and Town Council person. Thank you for allowing me to come back again. I first of all would like to thank you for last year. You guys were just the saving grace for the pool. We were able to get it all fixed, certified, and open, and it was a great year. I mean, they had a really, really good year, and we're back at it again, trying to get things up and running and, you know, ready to go again for the summer. We're not as bad as we were last year because we don't have that big expense of all of those repairs, because that was pretty hefty, but we do, you know, but we're still working on getting that all together. So I'm here to see if you guys would be willing to help us out again at all this year. And it's all up to you. And then also just to put a little bug in your ear, like last year, we had offered that if you have a child, or not a child, but a youth group that would want to, you know, go to the pool on certain days, you know, that's welcome. Moriarty, they donated the same thing that you did, and they utilized that. They had a bus come in one day a week, up to 70 kids came. And, you know, at no charge, as long as they're, you know, in a group and it's a youth club type thing, and they all come together on the bus and stuff, you know, we can work with you on that so that you have a program for the kids to have something to do this summer. But, again, you know, thank you again for all your help, and if you guys are willing to help us out, you know, we would greatly appreciate it. And willing to work with you, you know, on getting a program together for your youth here in Mountain Air.
Stella, I just have to be me, but I thought this was like a one-time donation.
It was, and
for
I'm
last
not,
year.
I'm just asking to see if you guys would be willing to help. It's not, I'm not saying, you know, we have to have it or we need it, you know, and it's also to, you know, so that we can offer you the program for the kids and stuff. So, you know, it's not, you know, it's up to you. I'm just here asking to see if you guys would be willing to, and if you know.
Has any other municipality? Yeah.
Moriarty, yeah, because they really liked the program last year. It really worked out good for them and their program that they have in Moriarty.
Do you think it's gonna be like evolving like every year?
No, it's not, and, you know, we had, like I said, the expense last year was major, and, you know, and we had the big hit of the prison, and, you know, and it's been rough, but we're, you know, leveling out, we're not above yet at all, you know, because that really, you know, caused a big financial problem for the town, but, you know, we're getting there, so, like I said, you know, I'm just here to ask to see if you guys would be willing to help. I'm not saying how much or anything, it's, you know, up to you if you do or you don't, so.
Yes.
How much did we utilize the program last year? I know it was the first year and we're getting off the ground,
Right.
but how much did Mountain Air utilize it for our kids?
I don't know, well, the town itself did not send a bus, or anything like that, we did not utilize it at all. If people from Mount Air obviously probably went, but
But we didn't have like a
no.
group of kids.
no.
Is that something that could happen in Mountain Air? Be realistic.
Realistically,
Yeah.
no.
Why?
We don't have a bus.
Okay.
We understand the school has a bus,
Uh,
but they can't at this time. I've asked, it's something that I've asked. So they can't at this time. So, I mean, we would have to pay the bus charges.
Right.
I mean, they would lend us a bus, they're not saying no, you can't have
Right,
a bus. But we would have to pay the driver
Right.
to go,
See, that's the thing.
which is hourly, because they would stay over there. And then you would have to pay for gas, which I mean, gas. but-
So now, the kids are on their own. If you can get there, go, great. If
Same
you're
as
on
last
your
year.
own time.
Yeah, see, that shouldn't be logical, excuse me, sorry, but, yeah, if, she said she could help out, if she's gonna help out, is she gonna provide us a bus and a driver? Because, you know, money, you know, if we're gonna give her money, I said, we're a small community, we would probably all like us to utilize our money a certain way, but if it's gonna benefit somebody else and not benefit us, then why should we do it? You know,
Right.
you know,
And
so
you
it's,
have a point.
yeah.
You have a point.
which, I mean, it's ultimately up to the council anyway, but I'm a concerned citizen for, because if that's the case, we can actually throw all that money towards our community building, or to elsewhere else.
Or to
If-
pay for the bus.
To pay for the
and
bus,
get the
because
kids in.
if our kids cannot go, because we don't have a bus and we don't have a driver, like, we're not like Moriarty, that they have bunches of money, you know, so, that's a concern for me, you know, and I'm pretty sure it's everybody else's concern. But if you can help out with the bus and a driver, I wouldn't see no problem with it, as far as being here as a part of the community.
I don't have a bus or driver.
So that goes out.
You know, Moriarty itself is benefiting from it, but there's few families here from out there that probably go, but guess what, they're having to pay that gas and have to pay that to go there. But at the same time, Moriarty's not having to pay nothing because they're taking them on a bus load, not like us. You know?
We can help by encourage people to go to the pool. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, and-
No, which is fine, yeah, sure.
No, I was just wondering if we had pulled anything together to get our kids there.
No, you really have to do with the bus situation.
Yeah, that's our part.
And the offer was there last year.
I wouldn't mind helping you along
The offer was there
revolving.
last year.
Yeah.
But you have to do with
You can't get a whole pool
resources.
team.
And the thing is like us being a Mount Air community, I don't see no problem helping them, but if it's gonna be revolving door all the time, then we can throw that money towards ourselves and build our own pool eventually. You know what I mean? But in that case, then I guess we'll probably never be able to. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know if I want to get on the pool.
Which is fine. I mean, I'm not opposed to it, you know what I mean? So whatever.
I just, in the community building, I think we have like $100,000 we need to put in that building just with the roof and all the stuff we just talked about. And I really think we should put our money into that building right now, personally, what I'm thinking.
And like I said, maybe, here to thank you for last year, because if it wasn't for all of the surrounding communities last year, it wouldn't be open. That was just a saving grace, we got it open and everything, went really well and stuff, and, it didn't profit, but it didn't, it wasn't in the red. So it held its own last year, so it did good, but like I said, I'm just here to ask if you would be willing to, it's up to you. Either way, we're good with it either way, but, I'm just here.
I can just give 2,000.
Any more questions?
I don't think it's a bad idea, especially if we can, we don't even know what Nathan would do, what your council would do, maybe they could modify it and give Mountain Air some bands when the Mountain Air kids go. They could pick up a band from town council or from city hall and then have that little discount for that free day themselves there, because we don't have a bus.
Right.
If Nathan was willing to do something like that, I don't see what, then there'd be a problem, We have an issue of not having a bus on the way.
For transportation.
Yeah,
See,
but
we
it's,
don't,
but,
we don't really have like any transportation either,
Right.
so,
But if like Nathan, your council, even if he gives them a band or something like that, I think it'd be all right to, then the kids from Mount Air's getting their day or free day to go swim.
right.
I just, unfortunately, the people I talk to don't go to Santa, they go to Belen, because they're going that way too, because there's a lot more amenities over there.
We should be taking care of our own Torrance County.
That's fine.
But we should, but I think that I wish more people would actually help Torrance County, because we should help our neighboring towns too. And maybe whatever we gave last year, maybe if we don't give that much, maybe at least give something, but, because I know maybe they go to Belen, but we should be helping our own county. I think, that's just me, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes.
What did we donate last year?
5,000.
5,000. What if you lowered that, like to maybe 2,000?
Or 2,500.
I mean,
Because I mean,
right,
we have
do have to
neighbors,
some
Yeah.
for the surrounding.
Even 5,
communities.
even 2,500 would be
Is
fine.
there like a certain amount you're trying to get to, or just like whatever?
They didn't give me any numbers, they just says, go over and see, on there, but, it's, we're not like we were last year, like I said, so, I'm here to see if you guys would be willing to help us out, and then we would, in return, help, utilize that with your kids, so it's, like I said, it's up to you.
I'm just curious, if we don't donate, I mean, how's that gonna affect you?
Right, are you not gonna open?
Uh-huh.
If we don't donate, are you gonna open?
We're gonna figure it out no matter what. We're gonna figure it out no matter what.
We are neighbors, so no, it's not a revolving thing.
I feel the same pretty much as Ernie, like, there'd be like, for the kids to get a band and get a discount for those certain days or whatever,
Yeah. Or maybe
No,
we
it's fine.
can,
A discount.
maybe
That's,
if,
but,
oh, go ahead.
sorry, I just wanna say, that's a hard thing to do. Saying that and actually accomplishing that goal is a lot harder than it seems. Because one thing, you have to designate a number of bands. On the second thing, who do you choose gets the bands? There's different aspects that fall into that. It's not like they're gonna let every single person from Mount Air in just because we're from Mount Air and we gave some money. So there's different aspects to everything that we're kind of saying. So if we could, I would love to, but I just kind of see it as, it would be a hard task to take. And you would need someone that's gonna dedicate time to actually figuring that out, how to accomplish
How to
that goal.
juggle that,
Right.
yeah.
They could show a school ID. Improve it there for
Yeah, but
better.
what I mean is like,
You know, I got
is
you.
it gonna be like unlimited? I doubt that it's gonna be unlimited because they
For
need
the
to
year,
make money.
it should be for the year, for Mount
They need
Airy.
to make money.
You know, understandable,
I mean,
yes.
already, it's,
But
they
then
bring
they're not
in
gonna
their
make
bus
money.
one day a week.
Maybe one time for one person
One
too.
day a week. is
Maybe
what
they
they
can
bring
recruit
bus,
their
and
name
they're-
over there.
They're capped at 70 kids.
See, how do you
Usually they
designate,
get on
so
the
that's a
bus.
good example.
Yeah.
How do you designate, is it first come, first serve?
Yeah,
You know, how do you designate that?
yeah.
And then if it's first come, first serve, is it first come, first serve in Estancia? So I get all my kids together, I show up there, and then they're like, oh, we already met the 70. You know,
Yeah.
there's different aspects to all that.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
not as easy as it seems.
You could possibly give coupons or tickets or something that would come
But how
into
do
the
we
town
give them-
council. The town council could administer by something else that somebody else had to go in there and find out whether they could be passed out to them, and that way you're limited in the number of people that you're letting in.
Senor
And it's-
Dimas, real quick, sorry to interrupt, but if you're gonna give me 50 tickets and ask me to choose what kids to give them to, that's a pretty big task for me to do. I don't know if I
Well,
gotta
then
do
you
that.
delegate, then you
I mean,
delegate.
I don't know if I wanna like pick and choose what kids I wanna give tickets to. That's what I'm saying.
It would
I
be
think
a way
it's
of,
hard.
a way of covering your expense in a way that would fair to both. And then if there are first come, first served, or you delegate it to somebody under some other auspices, maybe the school, that wouldn't even have to be Mountain Air. If it was something that the town was interested in, it would go both ways, rather than just giving 2,500 and saying, thank you very much.
Or maybe, like, on a certain designated day, not say a bus, but, you know, you could talk to the Michelle's, you know, to arrange it, but maybe say, well, we're gonna be bringing this many people, but we're bringing our own vehicles, but then, you know, have that in line and just bring regular vehicles versus a bus and not have a bus driver. I mean, that's a thought too. Suburbans hold a lot of people.
Got a question for you. What's the actual fee to get in? Because I've never been there, because the water's too cold for me. So, it's always been cold.
I was going to win
But you've never been there.
It's summertime.
Yeah, but anyhow, what's the designated fee anyway for the
I
pool?
think it's $3 per kid per day. Or you could get a family pass, which I'm not sure if it's $100, I'm gonna say $150. I may be wrong, but we'll just say $150 for a family pass, which is, I'm not sure if it's 4 or 6 people in your family, and you can go every single day for
Okay.
the whole entire summer if you get a family pass.
Yes, okay.
But yeah, so it just kind of,
So for adults, it's the same as a student, or, so you said it's
Yes.
$3 for a student, so $3 for an
it's
adult
the
as
same, I
well?
think it's the same price to get in for everybody.
Can I make a suggestion? When I was with Albuquerque Police, we had a police athletic league. And under
No
the town
tickets, dude.
program,
$300
a lot of
tickets.
these community stuff would come together. And
I remember that.
we all know that maintaining a pool, public pool is a very expensive cost. So what we used to do is the police department would take donations throughout the year for activities such as this. If the kids wanted, the low-income kids wanted to go to the pools, we would give them coupons. And those coupons were good for the whole summer because the city of Albuquerque was contributing, local vendors, I mean, we went all over and we just got all these donations, so that's how we dealt with it. That way you didn't have to worry about, this kid's gonna go, this kid's not gonna go. We would get vendors like 1,000 tickets and say, okay, when they're gone, and you can use these any day of the week. And it was up to the parents to provide the transportation. The only time the school buses got involved was if it was a school event because of insurance and so forth like that. So maybe that's an idea, I mean, to make it fair for everybody, is maybe allocate a certain number of tickets that would be good for the whole year, because I mean, you gotta figure a lot of transportation needs are really hard to get around here. And it's what, 25 miles from here over there. So I mean, that's just a suggestion, it's something maybe a bunch of tickets and then give them out into their own.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember that as a kid, because I used to spend summers in Albuquerque with my
I used
my
to take
aunt.
my kids there, I had to get a
So
ticket too.
they used to, the police officer would patrol.
Yeah.
And he'd see us out there and
And they
playing,
would give you the tickets.
and he'd give us a
and-
coupon,
Mhm.
and then we could go to the pool that day or whatever.
Yeah.
I remember
So that could be something, maybe even some of your officers can see some of the kids on
Yes.
and pass
You'd be
them out.
willing to participate in anything for community policing.
Yeah, no,
you
that's,
know,
that'd be,
you
a
gotta
thing
have-
to be able to donate money
That'll be
Kids
good.
cost
for
money.
that, for them to make those coupons.
All right, do we have any more questions?
That's a good idea.
Black and white, I guess.
It's a good idea.
So I just got curious, do you need this money? How quick do you need this money?
I would say,
I'm just asking
I would
because,
say probably end of April-ish on there, 'cause, you know, if you wanted to, we could, you know, maybe discuss to see if there's any other options and ways that you could work with this, you know, based on kids, because, you know, trying to get the kids from here over there would be awesome. It would be awesome. It's really nice when you see other communities in your community too.
I was just asking, because I don't know if we should wait until we get our quotes and kind of go from there for the Dr. Saul building. That's what I
That's
need to know
right,
about.
you know, that, and I understand that too, that's a really important project.
That's what
I
I
think
see.
that's kind of neat.
We got the same set of kids that we had last year. If they didn't go last year, they're not gonna go this year. That's how I see it.
Or maybe if they have those tickets passed out.
Kids go outside anymore?
You know what, that would make it, that would, if the town would actually pretend to give you money, that would be a good thing for you all to make some coupons and give to our officers. That would make our kids wanna go, that he sees them out, cause there is kids that play out in the road and they throw footballs or whatever may be the case. That would be an incentive for, make them like feel special about
And,
going to a
and
pool.
also respect our police officers, they
Yeah.
should see that they're good people, you know, and kind of want to be good, you know, too. Yeah.
All right, so let's get back on task here. Any other questions or comments or motions or?
They break your feet.
I make a motion that we do not assist Estancia Pool with financial assistance.
A motion for not assisting?
Well, I like Adrian's idea first before we figure with that motion, that we look at our quotes first before we make that decision. Because I don't mind helping out a neighboring community, and
Yes.
even if it is just 2 or 3 kids to go.
Yes,
Forest County's part of our community.
Yes, sir.
If we had a pool down there, we'd be going to them to ask for help.
yes,
It just is what it is.
yes.
That's right.
And Duke Canyon's helped out before with like the dog, the kennels up there, dog catching, communities helping communities, it's just, it's what we do.
Work together.
Who we are.
For the record, Deer Canyon is part of Mount Airy.
Okay.
They're helping us.
No, but, yes.
No, they are
You can knock that point down, but community,
But
community
they are
still
part of us.
is what it is,
Yeah.
and I like the idea of getting the quotes first before we make a motion.
We're all one, we're just different branches.
I'll change my motion, but I still feel that,
Okay, change your motion to wait until we get home,
yes.
tabling?
And then I can talk to the city clerk and deputy too, and see if we could think of some kind of a way to help you, because I understand totally on the transportation, that just isn't an easy thing to do. But I can
No disrespect to you, but is this, maybe I'm still thinking about it, is this gonna be a recurring thing? Like Adrian stated last year when you
It's gonna
came,
be a one-time deal.
you guys said it's now, I mean, last year when we helped you, and now you're knocking at our door asking for more money. Okay, I want the record to state, hearing it from you, is this gonna be a recurring thing? Or you, like last year you said, no, we're not coming for more money, and you're knocking at our door again?
Okay, well, and then mainly too, is we're here to ask and also to help with the kids, you know, to see if you guys would have a program, you know, because all towns in the summer need programs for kids. And if there's something to keep them off the streets, you know, it's just something that would be good, you know, but no. It's not gonna be a recurring thing, but like I said, we know that you guys helped us last year, and you didn't utilize that, and it, you know, and it's just, an option, you know, and I'm just here, I'm not saying that we have to have it, but I'm just asking.
So we currently have a motion on the floor by Juanita to table until quotes. Do you have a second, or we'll let that motion back?
So we're always gonna be neighbors.
All right, I have a second by Ernie on that. Okay, so, again, the motion is to table this until we get quotes and approve the Dr. Saul building. Second by Ernie, roll call, Richard.
Four.
It's our sister in town.
Juanita.
Really?
Or,
We'll be in contact.
Thank you very much, I really appreciate you guys allowing me to come. But thank you very much, and again, thank you, like I said last year, if you guys wouldn't have helped us, it would have just been not really good, but we got it done, thank you
Awesome. Thank
very
you,
much.
All right, moving on, the new draft vehicle policy.
Yeah. So when I was starting to compile the two policies together, it dawned on me that it would confuse the employees because some of it applied to just PD while the rest of it applied to the others. For instance, the distance, stuff with the distance does not apply to Public Works. Public Works is informally required to live in Mount Air. That's an informal policy, but they are required because they need to be able to respond to on-call emergencies right away. So what I suggest we do is actually have, and let me backtrack a little bit. At the next meeting, we're gonna have a special public hearing where we basically rescind or repeal all ordinances pertaining to personnel policies. Because it's, right now, it's a law. So for us to make a change, we have to publish it in the newspaper, we have to publish it 14 days, we have to have a public hearing, and we have to go through all these motions just to make a simple change. So what we're planning on doing is at the next meeting, we're gonna have a public hearing, rescinding it all, and they're gonna repass all of it as resolution, which we could do on the fly per meeting. And that will make the changes much easier. So my suggestion would be to have actually two policies. For Exhibit D will be non-police town vehicles, and Exhibit E will be police take-home policy. And that way, they can kind of, and the PD could tweak it the way they see fit, and then we could tweak the Public Works, and then we can compare apples to apples rather than apples and oranges.
And you said Public Works, but it also includes like Town Hall.
Yeah, Town Hall, because now we have a Public Works vehicle, or I mean, administrative vehicle. So that's my.
So tonight, we're basically approving that it's, at this time, two separate documents, and we're approving these documents. And then we're going to rescind everything pertaining to personnel, and we're going to put it all back where everything is.
Yeah, and if you want to look at a copy of that ordinance, a preliminary, it's at the very back of your packet. Proposed ordinance 01 to 2019, repealing municipal code, chapter 11, personnel policy, chapter 11, article 2, personnel merit system, chapter 11, exhibit A, exhibit B, exhibit C, and exhibit D.
Not exhibit E.
Oh, there's no exhibit E. This would be
E.
exhibit. Yeah, but it's not.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay. Sorry. But we're gonna have an exhibit E after.
Yes, after this next.
So,
The only thing I saw on the street, I think there's just a man made a typo there on 914.
Michelle?
I think I put two TVs.
Lines work.
Yes.
We decided to shall, I think it's meant to put
Yes.
THs down.
So we'll have that.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So tonight should be just a real simple approval of basically just approving the two separate documents. I know you were the one that wanted it together, but it just makes it so much easier for it to be separate.
Okay. I mean, we could put it together, but it's, I was thinking from the perspective of a new employee. Well, this doesn't apply to me, but this does. And I was trying to figure out how to tease the two together when this is so clean, and this is pretty clean itself too. It's like having two
Basically,
authors, trying to weave two authors' prose together, and it's
Under each section, you would have two sections. PD and the non-PD. Every single time, so it can be over and over and over. Whereas with this, it's just two separate documents, and your PD, you look at this document, and this PD, you look at this document.
Yeah, and I just thought I'm a better author though.
And the
That's
federal
nice.
side.
Can we ask questions?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, on, part B7, could you define civilian for me? I know what civilian means, but what does civilian interpret in the policy?
Okay, so that again, line
It,
B number 7.
yes,
What does it say?
page
It
2.
says if THABs are to be used for off-duty, and what's THABs? It's
That's a.
take home and
Assigned table.
Yeah, that's just an abbreviation.
are to be used for off-duty transportation of civilians to include but not necessarily be limited to any town personnel or right along police applicants. Employees shall ensure all civilians abide by the following rules.
And then D, the last part, then civilian being transported in the vehicle shall be dropped off at a safe location.
So, but the beginning of that says if an off-duty officer must respond to a call for service, for instance, and civilians being transported in the vehicle shall be dropped off. I'm assuming that's the ride-along, right?
Yes. Civilians is anybody that's non-sworn. That would include town hall members, probation officers, somebody that's with the officer at the time that is not a sworn police officer. That's the classification of what we term as a civilian.
Since we had a lot of debate on it, I think where you're going is the fact of having wives and children in the car. Is that where you're going? That does not include that.
Yeah, no, we took care of that, we excluded that, and then by dropping off the individual is that it does happen when we get, people that are interested in applying to be police officers. They're not sworn, they're civilians until they become police officers. We get DA advocates, victim advocates that want to ride with the police. Well, in the case of an emergency that was dangerous to them, we would stop somewhere, meaning we take them back to their car or wherever we pick them up, drop them off, that way they're not in harm's way. That's what that paragraph means.
Okay.
And that applies to pretty much everybody. If you're not a police officer, we're not gonna take you to a scene and,
Right.
yeah.
So it's yeah, that doesn't include family or friends.
That's, I'm sorry, I read this a couple days ago, but does that spell it out, or do we need to add a line E to specify that?
We can have the line.
I think we need to add that. We need it
And what
documented.
do we want that to say? Civilians listed,
Alright, I know, just because we had the kids in the car one time, you know.
at no time
Yeah.
can the employees, family members.
Well, there's gotta be some, okay. In these policies, okay, the policy that I drafted here, this policy has been tried and true by other agencies. Okay, these policies, I just didn't make them up and say, I'm gonna present these. These policies already been formulated through the International Chiefs of Police Association, the New Mexico Chiefs of Police, DPS. I took a combination of all three and put this policy together as to what they've already done that has worked. Okay, by tweaking it and changing things that to suit different individuals, we're taking away from a legal document. Okay, the document's very clear. We're not gonna put civilians in the cars that are not family. That was already stipulated in the last meeting, that no family members could ride. Okay, so now what do we do if we get a civilian person from an agency that's civilian, and they wanna go see what we do as police officers? If we start changing that, that's gonna exclude them. They won't be able to ride. That's where this is going. We have to leave it open the way it is. If you're not a sworn police officer, you're a civilian, period. The policy of dropping you off before going to an emergency call to avoid any liability and getting that person injured, that stands, because that's what every agency in this state does. We have to be very careful how we change these things, because these are already documents that have already been proven in court, and they've already been tested by the agencies that put them out. And that's where we get, as chief of police and administrators, that's where we get our policies from. We look at our resources and we call these individuals, these resources and say, hey, I need a policy on this. What do you have that's already been tried and true? They send you information, and from there, you can tweak it to fit your agency. And this right here is a standard in any police agency. Standard. I mean, you didn't want family to ride in the vehicles, we took that out, that's fine. But everything else that's in there concerning the off-duty use of an officer is gonna be kind of limited, because when an officer is off-duty, not working in uniform, he's coming from home to go to court. What happens if we have to transport a DA or an advocate or a witness or a victim? Because remember, we have to defend our
I
own
don't think the
cases.
issue is that. I don't think the issue is that. I think the issue is family members. I think
Yeah.
that, and I mean, it's true across many agencies. I mean, I know at school, I mean, I was told I have to take our bus driver next week on Monday to Albuquerque. And I want to take one of my own kids because I don't want to drive all the way by myself. So I can't take a school vehicle. So, I mean, it's not something that's like, foreign. I mean, I think the council has a legit reason that they don't want family members in this, because it's a thing, but is it specific enough, or shall we have just a different document that each officer signs that says, I will not have a family member in the vehicle? I mean, we could do that as well. It doesn't have to be part of this, but it could be another document that each one signs, and they understand that they agree with council that they would not have family members in the vehicle, and if they get caught doing that, they face discipline.
Well, we did that on the policy when I revised it to you guys' standards last week, where we included the GPS, we included all that. The officers are well aware of that. To have them sign a document stating what we've already agreed is repetitive and redundant.
But it has something on paper where
I understand, Mayor, but the thing is that what you're doing is that the morale factor is a big factor in incentives for police take-home cars. That is a big recruiting tool that we use to recruit good officers. But it's also a morale factor. If we start nitpicking the officers and saying, okay, the town council agreed on
But it
this,
wouldn't be nitpicking because you already agreed to it.
Sir,
but to do
I
another
know that.
document,
I might be out of hand.
contract, to do that is asking for the same thing that we've already agreed. That's what
But it's on paper.
you went on and on and on. All I asked was a simple question. What does civilian mean? And I know you chose this from another agent or wherever you called. And the input that I get, no disrespect, it seems like every time I ask a question, I can hear it in his voice that you guys might ask a question. I don't get the same tone of voice when I ask a question. All I asked was for you to define civilian. That was just a simple question that I asked. What does civilian mean? If that's the wording that needs to be there, that's the wording that needs to be there. I just asked a simple question. What's your interpretation of civilian? I said on peace. But I needed to say something. It seems like every time I ask a question, it's like, that's a way I feel, that I don't know if that's how you interpret it, that I'm nitpicking at things. I just asked a simple question. What does civilian mean? I know I asked a lot of questions, but I need to be understood or understand what I'm voting on. I don't want to vote on something that I don't have all the answers for. And it was just a simple question that I asked, what's your interpretation of civilian? That's all I asked.
Yeah, I just when it just comes to policies, it can be vague and we can't assume a lot of this stuff, so I just want to make sure it's clear, and maybe it needs to be in there. A lot of times I do policies, I send it to my HR department, I think that's Dennis, or even, I don't know if we send it to somebody on, like to our lawyers, to review this kind of stuff, but I don't know.
Not normal.
I mean, if Dennis is, you're our HR guy, right? Do we need to?
We're closer more.
Maybe we need to, what's your input on this?
To me, I mean, from an HR perspective, I think it could go either way. I'm like, Reyes's perspective is pretty adequate. I'm like, they do need more morale boosters, not take away. But at the same time, we did have an officer that grossly violated this policy. Standing there in a parade with his kids hanging out of the police car, watching a parade in the middle of town, so.
I try to
But
provide
it's
as much
insurance
information
factor.
as I
Something happens to tell me
reasonably
it's
give you. And I'm not being disrespectful to anybody, and I want to make that very clear. But the thing is, if you ask a question and then somebody else has an answer, then I have to answer those questions as they come. And it's not being disrespectful to anybody, to the town, or to anybody here on the council. The thing is that policies are a living document. They change daily. What we have here might change next month because of some law. Somebody got sued somewhere, somebody did something, and now we have to adjust this. So the resolution factor that you all are thinking of doing is a great thing, because that's what we need. In the next few months, I'm gonna be proposing some policy changes that we have on some very legal type problems, use of force, vehicle pursuits, anything like that. Those documents, like I said, can change because of the law. I'm following current state law, I'm following everything that needs to be done. So if something changes, I have to be there, because if we get involved in something, our policies, as the way they stand, have to stand in a court of law. Because that's what they're gonna question us. They're not gonna care what our personal opinions are. They're gonna say, what do you have as policy on the books right now? And I have to be there, because I'm the one that's gonna go to court along with the mayor and say, this is what we adopted, this is what we agreed on, and this is what we're following. So,
And I'm gonna use that, kind of against the chief. So, being mayor for almost a year now, or actually a little over a year, I've had multiple unemployment meetings, I've had multiple other meetings that deal with unemployment. And so, knowing what I've been through with that, if the town council takes action against a police officer that is found to be taking his wife to Roswell in his police vehicle, and we fire him for that, that person could come back and tell a judge, I don't know. And guess what we have? We have nada.
no, I know, I've been to
So,
those meetings since.
In the same thing, just like you just said, there's court proceedings in other ways too, because we have to see an unemployment judge. We talk to an unemployment judge. And if we're not clear on certain policies, such as family members, that is an issue, because if, like I said, who knows? I'm not saying that anyone would, I doubt that you would. I get the morale booster, I totally get that.
I don't think it's even a morale. I mean, because
If you already agreed to it, I don't see the big issue in signing at least a document saying you agreed to
I
it.
don't think it's a big deal. We gave the cops new vehicles, we gave them raises, they're awesome new vehicles, take-home policy. I mean, to me, I don't think it's a morale buster. I don't know what you think.
There's been so many changes in the police department in the positive, that I don't think having them sign a little document that says, I know that I understand that I'm not supposed to take my family or friends in the vehicle, is gonna cause an issue, but I could be wrong, I don't know, you guys better.
No, I totally understand the concern as far as that, but when the employee got hired onto the town, they were issued a book, town SOP by Dennis, that they have to sign, which they're agreeing to abide by this policy. Whatever changes town council makes to make it better, to make it more concise, that person is legally bound by that signature. Legally bound, so there you have a signature saying,
So is it in our SOP that you cannot take family members?
on the new one that you guys approved and the one I revised to include the GPS and all that,
But it doesn't specify.
because you didn't ask me to put it in there, I mean, if you want me to put it in there.
Well, that's what we're
I'll
asking
redo it,
tonight. Yeah, I think that's what they're asking tonight.
Okay, that's not a problem, I mean, that's why we can revise guidelines, these are guidelines, we can revise all of that stuff. But, you know, like, I'm reacting to what's being asked on a document we already approved. So to me, it's confusing, it's like, okay, we approved this, what are we changing now? So just tell me what you want changed, and that'll get adjusted.
This is this,
And I think, and we were pretty clear last time about the family members, so it's not like
Yeah.
we changed anything, but, yeah, I mean, this is the first time that they're actually seeing it. I mean, me and Dennis saw it, because we obviously, you know, looked at it. This is the first time the council's seeing it since the last meeting, so they didn't know that family was technically not in there. And that was a big issue, that's the reason I said, I'm assuming you're bringing this up because we had a good 5-minute conversation, now we're going to 20-minute conversation on family members. And to me, I don't know, I just think that, I don't understand why we can't just either add it in there or have a separate document that says, I understand I'm not supposed to be able to, and then they sign
I'm
it.
fine with
It's
it.
easier to put it in.
If you wanna make a separate document, I'll get them to
You know?
sign it. I'm sure they will.
Oh, there needs to be a separate line.
No more discussion, just a second document.
Yeah, well, I think it just,
Well,
I mean, there's gonna be a few edits already, so.
It can't be.
Oh, yeah, that's
Just
just,
add another document.
So you're gonna include it in that document
as it me, Abby?
instead of signing it?
Say that again?
No, I said you're writing it in on the major document rather than having the
A
officer
separate
sign another document.
Right. And have they technically signed it? Have they technically signed this already? Or they haven't even signed it?
Well,
No,
they
no,
were told
they
us they
haven't
were
approved
gonna
it
give
yet.
us a
Oh, yeah,
contract.
so see, they haven't even signed it, so it would be
Yeah.
different if they signed it and we haven't signed it yet. They haven't signed it.
Yeah, I was waiting for you guys to give me the contract, because you guys would give me something for them to sign it. I haven't gotten it.
I can't have that.
That's what it is with the city.
My
The
dad,
state,
Can
I'm
you?
assuming we're having a second.
they can't have nobody in there, dude.
Well, can you?
Because that was for having people, you can't have nobody.
Nobody's gonna supposed to drive my vehicle. You can't drive my truck.
yeah, civilians, we might define civilians or not including family members.
Yeah.
Up to that effect. So our civilians do not.
I'm getting some coffee.
So civilians is starting in
Or throughout the document.
So you got a big compliment.
is not included family members. Okay, so then now there's letter E. Any other questions?
Good.
Any other comments?
Good. I make a motion to approve the police department vehicle policy with the amendments we just made.
I second that.
Motion by Adrian, a second by Juanita to approve the draft of the police department vehicle policy with the included changes, including subsection E, which does not include family members of police officers. Roll call, Richard? 4. Adrian?
4.
Juanita? 4. Ernie? 4. All right, perfect. Okay, moving on, approval and review of firearm detection system. So, obviously, we have an ever-changing world, and, you know, mass shootings are becoming a common occurrence, I guess you could say. I'm asking for permission to purchase 4 safe zone sensors. The cost is $200 per sensor, and after that, it's $25 per year per sensor, which is actually very, very affordable. And I will tell you that the school is actually looking at the exact same system that this is. The good thing about this is I think if the town implements it first, so let's just say, what you do is it's hooked to a network. And what happens is this, and I'll play a video here in a minute, but what happens is when it detects gunfire, it automatically detects a certain amount of people. So the school would obviously text all the police departments. It would text me at the school. It would text, you know, Dennis probably. It would text multiple people to let them know that there was gunfire at the school. We obviously want to keep that limited. We don't want, you know, I mean, word gets really fast, but it would just be the major players, EMTs, fire department, things of that nature that get this thing. With the town, the text message would go out to obviously our law enforcement, but it would also go out to the school, because in case something happened at the town hall, we can put the school in lockdown immediately. But real quick, let me just show you the video, and then we can, actually, turn off my mouse. Sorry.
When a life hangs by a thread, every minute counts. Within seconds of a gunshot, Safe Zone delivers critical information to people who need it most. The location of the shooter, the number of shots fired, the type of weapon, and more are sent to first responders and those on site. This allows law enforcement to accelerate their response and improve their planning, while giving citizens the knowledge necessary to avoid the shooter. By using sophisticated machine learning algorithms, we can reduce the average response time by more than half. Reducing response time in an emergency situation means more people get to walk away. By partnering with local law enforcement and firearms experts, we've developed a system with extraordinary capabilities. We've done extensive testing in real-world environments to ensure the highest levels of accuracy and reliability. Construction noises, school noises, firecrackers, and more have all been included in the development of our system. We've even begun development and testing for detection of suppressed weapons, and will be adding this feature in a software update. The cloud-based machine learning design of our system means we're constantly evolving and updating to stay ahead of the threat. And thanks to our IoT architecture, we can interface with cameras, door locks, security systems, and more. Safe Zone is changing the way we approach an active shooter incident, because saving minutes saves lives.
So, we went to the NASBO, which is the school business employees, school business officers, and that's where the person there was actually demoing this product. And the price is like huge. I mean, $200 for the unit, and then $25 a year after. I mean, that's nothing. After the initial purchase, you're paying $100 a year. So, number of, and I included, you guys get, yes, you did. I included the number of, you can do unlimited number of text messages. Basically, it's an app that you link. So the app basically runs in the background of your phone, and whenever something happens, you get alerted to it. So, and there's some statistics there as to where these average incidents are happening. These, even though they seem like, really nice, you can put them in any corner, it's not that nice, and I just want to explain some of like the kind of like the downfalls to this product. It has to be close to like an electrical outlet, obviously, in the corner. So we have to, look at that. It does have PoE, which I believe are $200 versus the ones that you plug into the outlet, which are $150. I would say like at town hall, we go with like PoE, because we can just run it through the roof, which is power over Ethernet. You plug it to your modem, that's power over Ethernet, and then it powers the device. That's going to be a lot easier than having, number one, a wire going up the corner, or having it stretched, because usually all it's on the corner of the house or a corner of the building. So it would be more PoE, and then we could do that. Our police station. So here's the 4 places that I really wanted it, and if you guys can think of more, I don't mind doing it. I was thinking of having it at the Public Works building, at the town hall, 2 at town hall actually, 1 in MVD and then 1 in the main area of the town hall, and then the 4th would be in the police department. And all of those areas we can have power over Ethernet, and it would not be, Public Works would be a little difficult, but the rest of them I don't think would be that difficult to have. These are good up to 30 feet. So, like for instance, if it's a long hallway, like if we plan on doing it at, let's say, at the Dr. Saul Center in the future, if it's something that we want to do, yeah, that would probably need 2 on each side, 2 on each corner to kind of meet in the middle. I don't know the exact length, but it might require like maybe 3, but they go up to like 30 feet as far as sound.
So you're looking one sensor for?
Yeah, essentially yes. Police department, PW, MVD, town hall. So that'd be $800 to purchase the device, and then $100 a month, $100 a year after that. Each department would pay for their own, so the police department, $200 would come out of their thing right now, $25 a year. Administration, administration would cover MVD as well, and then public works would come out of gas. It's really not that big, it's actually under my threshold, I actually could have got it, but I wanted you guys to see it and witness it and kind of, essentially give me your blessing on getting it. Any questions, any thoughts?
No more shooting your gun in the police station, chief?
Now it's for our protection, somebody goes in there trying to shoot us. At least we'll, somebody else will know about it.
And when the school does this, I mean, I pray that we never, ever, ever have that situation. But in the in the horrible reality that it does happen, police are it's gonna say, middle school bathroom. It's gonna keep coming. Every time you hear a shot, gym, you're gonna know where that guy is or that girl. Mainly men, but you're gonna know where that person is.
So chief, that was a good point, so will this be linked up to the county?
So we would have to talk to the county and see if they would want to link up. I was talking to the salesman here, and I mentioned Estancia, I mentioned Torrance County, I mentioned all these places, Estancia High School. I actually showed the business manager it today, and she was like really interested. The price is just, you can't beat the price. And for safety. And like Dennis said, I mean, really this is kind of like, you are protecting people there in the building, but shots are already going off. What you're really doing is you're able to isolate the issue because you're gonna know where they're at and help first responders get to that person ASAP. And not only that, but I mean, you figure if you link up the teachers, okay, so I'm Mr. Nieto on this side of the building, and I get the text that it's on that side of the building in Mr. Padilla's room, I know which way to run.
You wanna say me?
I mean, maybe. But, I mean, it helps teachers know where the shooter is as well, so they can exit through the other way.
Is there a contract to it or no?
No, there's no contract. No. If we don't like it after a year, we cancel it and we don't pay the $25. I'm assuming that, I don't know if you would have to give this thing back or if you would have to pay like a reconnect fee or anything like that, but it's not a lot if you don't.
I would rather see you be proactive and do something like this than be sorry down the road that you did it.
$200.
I don't have a problem with it, unless there's more you need to talk about.
I make a motion to approve the purchase of the firearm protection system for our town buildings.
Second. Okay, motion by Adrian, a second by Richard. Roll call, Richard. Four. Adrian. Four. Juanita.
That's wide open.
Thank you guys, I appreciate that. And I will be in
Basically.
approval of quote from Davidson Arts for work on wells
It should be one of
and approval to pay deposit.
People get
Dennis has been on that.
Yeah, Jess couldn't be here because he was down in Belen and he blew a tire, so. One of the things, last year we got legislative appropriations for $15,000 to work on a well and to, this is good, right? Yeah, okay, just making sure we got so many projects with Davidson Arts. So, basically what it is this is the total project, first page is the total project, which is gonna be $8,683. And he needs half of that down, so he's asking for $4,342, so he could go ahead and purchase the materials. And this has already been, his quote has already been approved by the New Mexico Environment Department, who's the project overseer of this legislative appropriations, and all of it will be reimbursed. So, we just need, yeah, this is the email. This quote from Davidson Arts is approved. Please send a copy of the PO, which I can. And also, he will kind of be the general on this matter, where the rest of the monies will be for electrical, for the wells. And, he'll find a licensed contractor, licensed electrical contractor to do the work on it, and we'll cash out the full $15,000. But he wanted to get this out of the way first.
As you know, getting our wells into top shape is one of the prime goals that I had when I come on here, and I'm sure it's your guys' goal too. I think it's important, and this is something that's really needed really bad, and I wish that Danny was here, but he would tell you this is needed really badly.
In fact, I believe one of the boosters is having issues, and we could probably redirect those electrical funds to go toward that booster, because that is an electrical device.
This is to get our second pump in?
This is to fix,
This is just to fix the
this
bulkhead.
is to fix, yeah.
This is the
The
physical
building.
stuff.
The building.
When we did the legislative appropriations, we kind of scrambled. You were still a council person, and you called us up and said, get a project going. So David and Mark went in the back and pulled together 3 projects. We presented it to the 2018 legislative session, and they approved this particular project. But then months went on. The actual final approval didn't even occur until like September, I want to say. So we went 6 or 7 months.
The second page says.
Yeah, they're not too worried about it. It is at Cooper. And we call it Cooper Well Project. But when I talked to Pete, project manager over there in the Mexican Water Department, he said the moment it's
So when you say electrical, you mean like just the structure itself, the building and stuff? That's not messing with like the actual pumps and stuff like that? 'Cause you gotta have a panel pump.
this is literally just in fact, the application said for the roof of the building and the electrical.
Well, I know there's one that the roof needs.
Yeah. Is it Cooper?
We Willard.
Oh, Willard?
No, number, I used to call it 2, I don't know. I guess it's still number 2.
Yeah, 2B.
Yeah, that one's.
Okay.
in bad shape.
This one was a little bit more towards he did the quote based off Cooper's well. And in fact, actually, it was West Well that we were all just having this conversation.
And I think when we did the application, it would refer to it as Cooper West. So really, we had not messed up, but we had called it Cooper West Well.
Yeah.
And I mean, so, but we did check on all that. And
Yeah, Westwell needs all the electrical and everything.
Yeah. We literally pulled this project out in about 2 hours. So that's why it's kind of, what do we need? They pulled it together. And it turns out then we had other issues occur after the fact during the approval process. And so we're like, well, we really need it on this other stuff. So we're kind of shifting gears a little bit.
We need security.
I know Westwell, it's got to be a study done before it's much easier. Yeah, Westwell, that is.
Yeah, I guess West Well's on hold now, right?
Yes. The thing with Westwell, yeah, it's on hold for now. Westwell hasn't worked in 30 years.
I know, we worked
It's been a
that.
while.
I used to use it before, about a year before I did.
Oh, really?
When I first started,
Hasn't worked in.
Well, yeah, I don't know, but
No,
from what I
we-
understand,
we-
the valve doesn't work, so we're pumping water into it, aren't we?
well, see, that's what happened about a year before I got out of work here. We're having problems with the well going backwards. The pump was turning backwards. So I actually tried to shut valves off and whatever, it still kept going. So that showed me that what's happening is going backwards back into the well. So I actually had to get a pipe wrench and hold it. And with that pipe wrench, then we made sure that we never use it again after that. See? So what's happening, we're pumping a lot of water during nights and days. But at night, we couldn't believe how much water we were pumping. And after that, after seeing the deal going backwards, we realized that we had a check valve that was bypassing. We had Cooper pumping, and what we're doing, we're pumping into the west well and into the tanko here at the park.
Yeah.
So it was directing both different places. Then, about a year before I retired there, then we went ahead and blocked it out. So he was only out for about a year.
So Westwell is just it's on hold. It's not gonna be like we're not gonna repair it. What we're actually waiting for is for the heat if Mother Nature ever decides to get the heat. Because then water usage is obviously low, and then we can go in there and we can fill up our well, pause it for a day,
Yeah.
get people in there to look at it, see what's happening, and then get it fixed.
I know the electrical on that on Westwell, before we go too far, and then we pretty much have to test our
Right.
well, see if it's even got any water.
Yes.
Cause back then, you didn't have no water, which probably your dad at the time and them, they used to babysit it all the time. You could only pump it for an hour or so and then they had to turn it off, pump it again, turn it off. So when I first started, they told me, go ahead and use it only if you need it, but you can only use it for a little bit. Well, they didn't tell me I could only use it for a little bit. I went ahead and used it the whole weekend. When I went back Monday to go work, to show up for work, they asked me how did it go, and I told them, wow. I see my tank was under quarter tank and I panicked, so I turned Westwell on. And actually, I've been using Westwell all the weekend and they told me, no way. Yeah, I told me, in fact, it's still pumping right now. So we went and go check it, we're pumping 400 and something gallons a minute
From last.
from Westwell. But what happened was, until about a year before I retired, that's when we realized that Cooper is filling up that Westwell. And they were taking it out of there and sending it back to town afterwards. That was like a standby well, see? But in the meantime, we're pumping double just because of that going into
And
there.
really, Westwell should be an emergency really well, right?
That's all it was an emergency.
And
that was-
something happened to everything that way.
That was in 2015, right?
Yeah,
Actually retired in 2016.
right. So, like I say, on that one, all the electrical and everything is going to have to be redone. But first, we're gonna have to do studies in the actual well to see if we do have water. Because I believe at that time, that's why they could only pump it for a little bit, so there's no water there. And at the time that I started, they had left it off for quite a bit. I started using water from what they were pumping into town, going in there, and nobody ever realized that he was doing that. So of course, when I started using it, that well itself had already filled up, and we kept filling it up every day, it was kept going in there, you know.
Well, I'll be coming back to council for Westwell, eventually, for sure.
And the only reason I ask if it's for the, like, the electrical inside the buildings, like lights and fixtures and stuff like that. Cause, I used to tell, David, towards the last year, to try to keep one electrician. And to me, the electrician I always had was Ronnie Gustin. For the simple reason that he's the one that redone everything inside the panel boxes, the diagrams and everything of whatever, you know, he knew it. And there's a few times that in the past, they would send other electricians and they make a mess out of everything. They wanna reroute everything. They don't understand the wiring system or stuff like that. So they start rerouting and before you know it, you got a mess. The pump house at the park, that used to be everything automatically upstream. They pulled everything out of the panel box and stuff like that, because they didn't understand it, and never got it working right. So I sort of recommend that, you know, we do get one electrician and try to stick to that one, because they will make a mess.
This one is for, definitely for Cooper though, so it's not for Willard and it's not for, West yet. Well, I mean, this one's not gonna be for West, but we're not working on West yet, but. And like, Janice said, this was already approved, by, New Mexico Environmental Department. So basically, all I need is your blessing so that way we can get the project started.
So what Richard was saying about the electrical, I mean, is that set in stone with living, or is it?
No, that's still kind of open because a year and a half ago when we started this project, it was more like, I don't know what they were thinking, they were in the back, and both David and Mark are not with us today, so I'm not sure exactly what their reasoning was for it. But we do have an extra $6,000 with the right towards it.
And this, what you're approving tonight is just for the actual work on the building itself.
Okay. That's it, doing the roof, you said, no?
Yeah, correct. That's the main part.
But that's what that box that
Yes.
just goes over it.
Yeah, it's gonna rebuild the whole thing.
Here we go.
I make a motion that we hold from Davidson on for work on Cooper Well and to approve the pay deposit.
Second it.
Okay, a motion by Juanita, second by Ernie, roll call, Richard?
More,
Adrian?
Or,
Juanita? Ernie? Four. Motion passes. Next, approval of resolution 2019-06, Affirmation of the town on earth, zero tolerance.
Number 16.
And this is technically, I mean, we already have this in our policy books. We have made exceptions, and I just think it's best to go, we just, from now going forward, it's just a no tolerance kind of situation. We are a zero policy, zero tolerance, employer when it comes to drug abuse. Any comments, questions?
I was just gonna add a question on, so the town, they don't have an employee, I know you're trying to make a resolution on this, but as far as just kind of thinking further, the town doesn't have an employee responsibility and conduct kind of guide.
Yeah, we do. Actually, the drug policy is a federal drug policy. And it's for, it's actually NMDOT, that's what comes up. This Pipeline Hazardous Materials and Safety Administration, it's required by the federal government to have a drug policy on our public works as well as our police department, safety-sensitive jobs. And so, and we follow that. In that guide, that's what we've been following. So the exceptions that he referred to were a part of the guide, and we followed the policy.
I was just trying to remember everything before.
Yeah, it's a fickle document.
Is this the one that you send us?
Mhm. A big old monster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I downloaded it and
Yes.
and bring it in.
Sure, that's not down with that.
I'll borrow my copy.
Any
Yeah.
comments or questions or?
So the policy, I wasn't here for that meeting, it's in the policy, as you say, the way it stands now,
Yeah,
to be signed.
so this is,
Peter said we had, exceptions to the policy before, so now, just say, you're saying we just revert back to the policy, what's the policy, instead of what we've done in the past?
Essentially, yes.
well, we still follow the policy, because it allows for exceptions in the policy itself. But this just simply affirms that you guys are on board with, that we are a zero tolerance. One of the things is in,
And it could lead up to,
Yeah.
it could lead up to termination if you follow drug that,
Yeah.
the town manager.
yeah, the ramification's pretty intense. And in the legislative process that just occurred, I'm not sure if they did pass the marijuana legislation where it legalizes cannabis. It did not pass? Okay. This was written just before that was voted on, and that was an up and coming issue that we may have had to face. So this is kind of affirming your stance on this issue.
Again, I'm just, because I wasn't there, I like the way we've had it, because it gives somebody from the community, whoever it may be, a second chance, you know, and I don't know if I'm misunderstanding that they don't get that now. One and done, you're gone, too bad, so sad. I don't like that. I like the idea of a second chance, and it's proven to rehabilitate people before. And that's where I stand on it, but I don't know where, and I'm not advocating drug use for drugs. I just like the idea that somebody from our community gets a second chance. If you trip and fall, they'll help you up. Trip and fall again, you knew where you were at, you know, that's what it is, but, so if I'm incorrect, then, you know, educate me here, but if not, then I don't like the way we go with just one and done and you're out, and we don't care about you. I like the way we've done it.
But for some reason they have problems.
When you set the precedent still that you are a no drug employer, then basically that's your one and done. You know that you shouldn't be doing it because you're with a no tolerance employer. We deal with so important things such as gas pipelines that it's something that if we had someone that we gave a second chance to and then something happened like an explosion or something like that, it would really fall on us because it's a very dangerous thing when you deal with, I mean, anything. I mean, you're in BNSF. I mean, you know, imagine a conductor, you know.
Well, I know my drug policy well out there. We basically carry napalm across the rails. Okay, you guys knew what we had, the derailed for this town or next to it, they wipe you out, but we're not a one and done. They call it Camp Snoopy as it's an acronym, but they send you for rehabilitation, and you get another chance. So you're not, it's not just that one and you're done. Not with us, anyway, you mentioned us, so it's not that with us. And you mentioned precedents, we've set that precedence already with the way we've handled things in the past. And I like that, why I like that way, but that's just my opinion, I'm only asking because I wasn't at the meeting.
And we didn't discuss nothing at the meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
We tabled it.
We tabled it. So you, I feel like this is such an important change, or not change, but such an important thing that everybody should be doing.
We got, community members here now that we hire each other's families, friends, family in a small town is, it's hard to have like a nepotism rule like in Mount Airy. So who the heck's not gonna be related to somebody, right? So we hire each other's families and friends out here. I like the way we've handled it in the past, I really do, because it shows compassion, it shows we care about our community, it shows we care about our guys that are working for us and the ones to come. That's just how I feel. I don't advocate drugs, I don't advocate the use of them, I've never done them. Look at me and judge me, I don't care, I've never done them. But having said that, that's not why I'm saying this, I'm just saying I like the way we've done it, I like the fact that we give a person a second chance. If it rehabilitates them, that's the best thing we ever did for them. If not, then you weed them out.
Yep.
I think
Exactly.
that's what I think. I think if it rehabilitates them, it's the best thing you ever did for them. You help them. If not, then you weeded them out. I look at it sharply to say, we're gonna hire you, and the first time he messes up, you're out of here. Nice guy.
You all need a break.
I see it that way. I like the way we've done it.
Get up.
And I had that mindset.
It's true.
I have that mindset, and I think taking on the role of mayor and the after effects of it, I see it much differently. So when I sat in your position, I totally advocated just as you did. As mayor, that has come back to bite me in the butt. And I just, like I said, we have people that are dealing with natural gas. We have very important things that, these community members, if they blow up one day, they ain't gonna come and say, I'm glad you gave them a second chance.
I know, and then looking at our policy, when someone does mess up, they can't go work for the natural gas until they've committed, they've done everything that's in the policy with counseling and all that other stuff, so. The policy protects us from someone that may be violating that, and then gas, they don't even have to go work with it,
It
right?
protects you from legal, it doesn't protect people from gas explosion.
If they're not working with the gas. Right? I mean, isn't that part of it, or no? Or did I misunderstand that?
No, there's times where they can be back working on gas and they still have to.
I thought the policy was they could not go work on
No,
it until they're done.
Yeah.
well, until they're done with 6 months, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that they wouldn't go back to.
Well,
doing
that's
something
again,
after the 6 months.
yeah, and that, I don't speak to somebody's character afterwards, I like the second chance. That's just what I'm saying, I just like the second chance. I don't change my stand on that. And I get it, like you said, maybe if I was mayor and it was in a different spot and I'd seen it in another light, but I don't see it that way yet.
Yeah. No, I mean, I totally get where you're coming from. I spoke exactly as you did. Me and you were a mirror image of each other 2 years ago. Unfortunately, like I said, I just see it in a different light now. And it's just much different. You can definitely bite you in the butt, like I said, comes back. So I just want to say, I think that we should go back to the zero tolerance. I think that it's something that not only protects the town from liability, it actually protects our citizens as well. I mean, you want someone there that is not going to be altered in any way.
Yeah, it's a touchy situation, right?
That's a tough
It's
decision.
hard, I
because
mean, it's not.
I think I see your point and I see the mayor's point, so it's a really.
I also look at it like we've had guys working under the way it is right now. And then you get current employees where you get a new employee that says, well, welcome, was that what for selling it?
Well, see, and that's why us doing it right now, when there's no issues going on,
Yes.
where there's no one, it's not, okay, so if someone came in, if we have an employee that fell against us right now, and we came over here and we're like, well, no, we're gonna be a zero tolerance, I would get that, I would get your point 100%. But right now, we have no one right now that has failed the drug test, as far as like at this meeting, at this particular time. So, this is a perfect time to let our employees know, hey, it's not gonna be tolerated anymore. It was at one time, it's not anymore.
Have you put it out to the employees, have you talked to them?
I mean,
I just didn't want to wonder if you had. We always have those, meetings when they revise a policy or something like that for us. But I just want, sorry.
Can I just ask you, at the railroad, when somebody fails a drug test and you send him to rehab, you guys pay for it, correct?
The railroad?
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe they do.
And they take care of all the expenses, whatever it costs to rehab this guy.
I believe they do, yes.
So that would be a cost that the town would have to.
Isn't that what they're doing now, or what do they do?
No, we don't incur the cost, we pass the cost to the.
Currently, the cost is
Violator.
passed on to the employee, I believe, because they pay for their
But
counseling
we don't
sessions.
send them to rehab.
We send them to a drug counselor.
Yes, they.
Yeah, it's called a SAP, Substance Abuse Professional. And there's only one in this area.
Region.
In Albuquerque, yeah, this region, she's in Albuquerque.
And that employee pays for their counseling sessions. So it's a little different with us than the railroad.
Right.
I just, I got in here because I wanted to be part of the community, I was advocate for the community, and I know that they divide the line, some people are gonna say, no, one and done, I don't care. Some people are gonna say, I like giving a second chance to our community, and that's where I land.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough choice, and like I said, I was right there with you. But,
I didn't know if it was already discussed at the other meeting,
No.
that's why I'm asking.
no, we did. Any other comments, or?
We have an EAP program, right? I say if the employee has an addiction, they could come forward before we do a test.
Yes, yeah, it's in the policy. If they voluntarily come forward, it precludes them from termination.
How soon is that? Is that right before a drug test, or is that like?
Well, it can't be the same day of drug test, but.
Well, that's what I'm asking, I'm just wondering.
Yeah, they discussed that at that drug and what did they say, at that safety meeting we went to?
That is the way it is with the railroad, even on the day of the drug test.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I just want to make a comment. You guys listen to the news or you see it on the computer. There is a horrible drug problem across the country. Look at the position New Mexico is in. I kind of agree with Peter. I think you have to have a zero tolerance. You're setting a precedent for people, but that's just my opinion.
I agree with Ernie.
Yeah, I see it with Ernie's position too, because if somebody, I can see meth, heroin, or cocaine, yes, they do not deserve to be working with gas, guaranteed. They do not deserve to be working with it. But I'm not an advocate for drugs either. I don't care for them myself. But the thing of it is yes, a person does deserve a second chance. Regardless of who the person is or what they are, that's gonna boost up their morale of their want to be a better person in their life. Yes, it does suck, excuse my language, it does suck that if they did offend one time, but you know what, yes, if they do the second time, later, fine.
We'll make mistakes.
But it all depends to me, it just seems to me like meth, cocaine, and heroin is a zero tolerance period.
And
Weed itself, marijuana, yeah, whatever, but you know what I mean?
Unfortunately though, drug is a drug, I mean.
Yeah, regardless.
We can't like just, say meth and.
Yeah, you can't just stereotype it and just
Another thing
segregate
that
it.
I want to just point out is, you were mentioning, well, we take them off of gas, and we do, but what does that do to the burden of the other three guys? Now you only have three guys working on gas.
That sounds kind of low.
Where at one point you had
Some kind of
four.
downfall.
So that
You don't
limits
have
the
to.
employee
Yeah.
for up to 6 months not doing pretty much anything. I
Sometimes some
mean,
people
Some
have
people
nowhere
don't
to
have
go
the
to.
pride.
really.
Some people have nowhere to go to.
So in a way, you're paying somebody to come and not involve in gas, which a majority of our things are. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
You have to take into account as well that now the burden is actually pushed on to the three other employees. Because now those three people have to pick up the slack of that one person that can't do nothing.
I get that, I mean, you can make those cases for the same way, like we threw around the railroad and everything else, but that one goes away to that counseling session for gosh, I forget what it is, I've never violated it, but we get to go away for 6 months, I think.
What if somebody doesn't have someone to go?
And I get it, and like I said, I was totally in your position, I get it, I agree people deserve second chances.
Just can't throw them on the street.
That's not a question. But the thing about it is at the same time, if you let someone know drugs aren't tolerated, that's their first warning. Now their actual fail is a second warning. You let them know. We're not gonna tolerate drugs in the workplace.
I think it's known, but it's not when we get hired out, it's on the policy. I think it's known. We're not, I don't think no one assumes they're gonna hire out from out there and get to be a druggie.
Right.
I don't think no one assumes that now. I'm talking about a second chance if someone stumbles and falls. I like the idea that we're more open with our community and our employees to say, okay, well, it's in that policy. What is that in here? If we get a second chance, you violate it again, then you're done.
I get it. No, I mean, I get your point, I totally get your point, like I said. I think most members would agree that in the past, when this issue came up, the advocate, I was the one that said, no, we're gonna stand by our guy. I was that guy. So I totally get your point. But then, fast forward 2 years, a year longer into my council, and then a year into my mayorship, I'm just like, whoa. It's not always rainbows and butterflies as you see it.
No, I don't see it that way. I see the real problem that it is, and we've lived it. You know?
Any other comments from my
Peter?
According to that item 15, the last sentence says, "It will become a significant offense if an employee tests positive on a random drug test, including up to termination." So that doesn't mean they necessarily get fired.
Right.
Right. So that is a second chance.
Can be.
It can be. It can be. It depends. It just depends. We would obviously, if someone were to fail tomorrow, let's just say, we had a random tomorrow, someone were to fail, the governing body would decide their fate at the next council meeting. But I just think that we should lean more towards termination than a second chance.
Well, if you threaten them with termination.
And I don't, and I think we've set precedents already, you know, with employees in the past, you know.
I know, but the change midterm, when nothing's happening, when there's no one up to that, like I said, if someone were to be in front of us and we were in the back in executive session with someone that failed, and we said, look, this is how we did it, but we're not gonna do that with you, that's totally different, 100% different. But us saying that right now when no one's up, that's a totally different ballgame. Now you're letting your employees know tomorrow morning, if this is passed, tomorrow morning you're letting them know, look, no more drugs, no more slack. This is your warning. This is your first warning. So we know your position, we know my position. Any other person wants to give their position? And I totally agree with you at one point. I did.
You
You
were
will
right.
hire people from your community in the future.
Absolutely.
Some of your own,
Absolutely.
around the room.
Well, I work for the highway department, so whenever you get a drug test and you pull up dirty, all the expenses come out of your own pocket. Everything. Everything. Whether it's inpatient, outpatient, but they give you that second chance. They'll give it to you, but every expense comes out of your pocket. Whether it's inpatient or outpatient or counseling, whatever may be the case, all that expense comes out of your pocket. You don't get another chance after that. If you pull up dirty, you're done. You can never apply for the state ever again when you pull a dirty away.
And our
That's
policy
it.
says you can apply after 1 year.
No, not with the highway department, because you're a CDL carrier. It's federal law with the CDL. Yeah, you will not be able to. You're basically black book from the state.
Well, just like
So
the
I
last
just want to throw this out real
sentence.
quick. I just want to throw, because I mean, we're throwing out all kinds of scenarios.
The last
Yeah.
sentence
I just want to throw
is
this out. I mean,
so you-
you have someone that failed on a drug test and you're gonna give them a second chance, but what if there's someone else in the community that isn't on drugs, that wants an opportunity? And now you're saying, no, we're giving this person
Yeah,
an
there's-
opportunity because,
Both limbo there.
Peter?
Just
Oh,
like
yeah.
this gentleman here that just read the last sentence, he said up to termination. In other words, at that time, then it'll be up to the governing body, huh?
right.
So I mean,
Yeah, nothing's really essentially changing, but what I want the council to understand is, I mean, let's agree that we are a zero tolerance. So that way, if the case comes and we do have to terminate someone, we knew, we are in the understanding that we are a zero tolerance employer. That's what we are. It's in our guidelines, and there's specific reasons for that. And it has to do with safety of the community. That is first and foremost,
Because it's,
safety
we
of the
may have a
community.
problem that wants to change their life.
So am I hearing right, you're still giving the council discretion then?
Council will self-discussion, absolutely.
Therefore, it's not zero tolerance.
Right.
Huh?
Why can't you just leave that part to where it doesn't influence the future leanings of the governing group? Because every situation is different, and they're still human beings, and they deserve
And the reason
same
for that, is because if we didn't have this meeting right now, if we left it the exact same that it was, where it was up to council decision, which it will be, but if we didn't have this meeting right now, the next person that comes up, if we choose to terminate, they're gonna say what he said. You didn't fire them, you didn't do that to them, but now you're doing that to us. So this is basically why I brought this before the board, is for us to agree that we are a zero tolerance
As of
employer.
now.
And we should have the opportunity, if the time comes and someone else files a drug test, we should have the opportunity to be able to terminate without having to worry that we're breaking habit.
Yeah, I mean, the way I'm hearing it, we still got discretion to keep it in place, so I don't.
This is more of an opinion of the council, this is a stance of the council, it's not changing the policy.
And what this does is open it up in case there is a drug test fail in the future, we can terminate. Because now we're letting them know, look, now it's going up to termination. Because the precedent is set, he just said it, the precedent is set. Any other person that failed a drug test that has never failed before, they're gonna say, you give that person a chance, you give that person a chance, you give that person a chance. Why are you picking on me? We're not. We're coming to the common thing that we are a zero tolerance. It's still gonna be your discretion. If you decide not to, that's up to you, I guess, in the future. But I really think that, I mean, if it were to ever tie, I will let you know right now, my vote would be no. It would go to automatic termination. And I may sound like a jerk, but after advocating for so long and seeing the outcomes of those situations, I'm a totally different side. I understand why these provisions are actually put into things, because I've seen it firsthand.
The way I see it, how many chances are we gonna give that individual?
Well, there's only 2 in the policy, and we've proven it already in my little short time here. So it's not unlimited chances. And advocating for safety, it's already in the policy, they can't work with gas. And then advocating for a workload to be thrown on another guy, that's kind of the way it is in the world. And advocating that, that we take a stance that we're just gonna get rid of you. That's why I was asking questions. You know, I didn't know that it was changing everything or not, and that's why I'm trying to clarify. I'm just on the side of somebody deserves a second chance.
We're not, but by us affirming tonight that we are zero tolerance, basically what it does is it gives us the discretion of the next, hopefully this never happens again, hopefully, that would be my wish and that would be amazing. But in the case that it does, we can terminate if we see fit.
Yeah.
Whereas right now, we really can't because we've already set the precedence.
But he's still saying that that person, the next person, could get a second chance, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
But right now, I feel, right now, before this meeting tonight, I feel like the next person automatically gets a second chance. It's a done deal, second chance, no questions asked. That's what I feel, because we've done it multiple times. Affirming that we understand that technically Mountain Airy is a zero tolerance drug policy employer, then that gives us discretion at the next one to terminate if we see fit, if we need to. It's not an automatic second chance.
So that just confuses me all over again then.
But that would be for your current employees now, correct? So if you were to hire a new employee, that would be the zero tolerance then, correct or no?
No. They sign this once a year.
Oh, okay.
Usually at the end of fiscal year, which we're coming up on.
Yeah, now in July.
Yep, so they'll sign it again, and it'll be the new policy.
Well, there you go.
Yes.
I wasn't gonna say anything, but on that drug test, it should be known and put in there that there's certain things you will take will make you fail your drug test. And I'm not lying. One, if you take diet pills because you feel like you're overweight, whatever, they sell them at the gas station called Yellow Jackets. That will make you fail a drug test. And this person, my husband, did. He was taking it, I was taking it. I had to stop because the way it made me feel. He continued, he failed the drug test. And he told, and that's why he advocated so much. But the stuff, he had to go to counseling. We paid up the wazoo for this stuff, 3 weeks suspension for this. And he said it's for diet pills. And there wasn't no, let's see, let's test you, take that pill and let's see if that's what it is. It was like, nope, you're almost gone. Two, the second time it was supposed to be a 12-month probation, random drug testing. For that 12 months, he was the only one going for random drug testing. It wasn't even 12 months, it was 13 months. This guy would not take a Tylenol this whole time because he was afraid. He loved this job. He worked his butt off. I want to say that right now.
He did?
This guy worked his butt. He brought his work home with him. All the time. I would get mad because he would bring his work home with him. He helped put these floors. He donated his time. So I think that's nothing. They should be evaluated on their work performance. But when they have a past, yes, he has a past of who he used to be, and I ain't gonna lie. But if they had a past, a drug problem, this and that, and they failed, depending on, but if they're telling you, I failed because of this, and they still get fired or almost fired, and 3 weeks suspension, I thought that was ridiculous for diet pills. And I knew what they were, and that's not a lie. But because of his past, it wasn't believed. Or because of the gas line, that I get that, and I 100% get this. I get you have to be safe. But if they're telling you they did this, or did you know there's sinus medication can make you fail, antibiotics can make you fail. So this guy was so afraid. He made a stupid mistake because he didn't know. He thought he was done taking drug tests. It was over a year. He was called again to go take another one. Terrified. He asked someone he thought he could trust, stupid, to pee for him. This person is the closest it could be to him. Destroy the relationship because this person was dirty and didn't tell him. Destroyed my life. Let me tell you this. And this guy worked hard, and I get he screwed up, but I'm telling, if you was doing drugs, I'd be the first person to be bye. But there needs to be in there that if they're taking certain medications, they are gonna fail. They will fail. And I just felt like he was targeted, and he worked his butt off. And let's say he was doing this drug, but he worked his butt off. So I felt if he did do it, yes, he deserves a second chance. And he got that second chance. But because he was so, you didn't even know how much he was under that glass. That he made the stupidest mistake ever. It cost him his relationship with his own father. Let me tell you that. And this followed him. It was supposed to be he could resign because he worked so hard.
Real quick, I could say that we can talk about that, but it was never revealed in anything to any other employer.
Around town, I was told he's fired, he's a druggie, the mayor said this. And I was like, whoa, what? The ex-mayor said.
Okay, well,
And
I was
then,
gonna say that.
was he resign? Did he resign or did he get fired?
So, I mean, I can't speak for a former mayor that may have witnessed that he was no longer working and make assumptions and spread that around town. I mean, no one can stop that from happening. But I can guarantee that from this governing body, well, I can't speak for them, but for the town clerk and myself, it was never revealed. Never.
Well, I know because Mountainair's the way they are, so I was like, it's Mountainair, whatever. Okay, so, but the thing is, also, he worked hard for his water qualification. He was called by Fred Black that there was someone in the town that called and told him about his drug fail. So why, that has nothing to even do with the town. He worked hard for that certification, so why would someone call and tell them that. I wanna know that as well, to try to like break us down so much, like, I don't know. Why were they trying to get his water filtration taken away if that's something totally separate?
We never try to get his water certification taken away.
Oh, Fred Black gave the name. If you wanna, Dennis, he said you had called, is that correct?
I did call Fred Black, but I never tried to get his qualifications taken away. In fact, I was the one that wrote a personal letter of recommendation to
Yes,
Estancia.
yes, you did. And then right after you left, do you know that they called him and told him that you said, cause you're friends with the lady, I guess, but he failed, he's not working with us because
No.
he did fail the
So let
drug
me
test.
correct that real quick. So the questions, we can't even say that. That's not even legal to say, just for the
That's what that
record.
lady said,
So
so.
what it is they ask you, the question that they ask you is this person rehirable by the town? And if you say no, they can make their assumptions, but if you say no, there's really only one reason why you wouldn't be rehired by the town,
Mhm.
and that is due to drug use. So they maybe made an assumption, but for us to call and say, don't get him because he was on drugs, I can assure you that that did not happen.
Well, that's what that lady, but then that, like Fred Black, as well, you know him, you can call him, and he said that he was told that, if, yeah, I want you to know that Carl got, violated his thing, and he got fired because of a failed drug test. So I didn't know why that was.
Well,
And I
Fred
wasn't
Black's a
gonna say
consultant to us, so he needs to be in on the conversation.
He said himself, he didn't need to know anything about that though. Himself, he said that has nothing to do with him. That's something totally separate. When you earn that certification, it has nothing to do.
Well, I know, that's why I never
No,
wanted.
we never tried to hold.
In fact, my personal, this is how I personally feel. I was hoping that he would go to Estancia, no offense to Estancia, but then after a year, we would bring him back. And I'm just leaving Estancia out because he is a value. He's a huge value. He was our hero in the Public Works Department, rising up the ranks. So I would not jeopardize that at all. I want him to succeed. I wasn't bad-mouthing him at all. I never,
That's what
once
we were
bad-mouthed.
shocked because we were like, when they're calling, Fred Black called him and we're like, and then here's Mountain Air, of course, it's Mountain Air. And we didn't come to a meeting and say, he didn't say, are you fired or you resign? That didn't matter. It was over, it was done. I was glad, honestly, because he had so much work on his plate, it was too much. But I'm just saying from now on, whatever happens, and I do want to say thank you, Peter, for that, I really do. As much as you advocated for him, I really do, because you fought for him, and even if he was doing drugs, it helped my family, but he wasn't, and I wish there would have been a test that could have proven it was that medication, it was that pill. But I think going ahead, you guys need to see if it's a medication they fill, or, but if they say it's a drug, for this drug, and it's for this drug, which the second time it was for a drug, it needs to be clear. And also, I think also one thing you should do is go by their work evaluation. If they're slacking off, not working good, they fail, okay, well, that's,
And he was a
let him
hard
go.
worker, and that's why I advocated super hard for him. And I was his biggest supporter, I really was.
And that's what I wasn't saying, you guys did,
but-
I mean, you did, and thank you for that, but.
And what we maybe need to make clear to our employees is if you are doing some kind of like, diet pill or anything like that, if you notify, if they come to the town and they say, I'm on hydroxycut, that's just a diet pill I remember, so I have no idea, but I'm on hydroxycut, and then we let the drug test people know, they will take that into consideration. So it's not completely like done deal. If you notify, but if you notify after the fact, then it's a much different
But then at the time, you
situation.
didn't know that would make you fail a drug test.
Right.
So that's another thing, certain things that.
If you're
people
taking
don't know.
anything, even if it's over the counter, if it's anything, you really should let your employer know.
Yeah,
I
cough
mean,
syrup will make
really.
In fact, I actually took a drug test about 6 months ago. The day of the drug test, I was mixing Adderall, which is for my son's, my foster son's ADHD. As I was going over my coffee, I spilled a little bit in there. So there's a drop or two, but I disclosed it. Adderall may have dropped into my coffee. You might find methamphetamine in my system because of that. I fully disclosed long before I actually took the test.
But I think if he would have knew that, he would have said something.
It sounds like you are compassionate as a group, and you have advocated, and you've had bad experiences, if there were only another phrase besides zero tolerance, which sounds like total lack of compassion, total lack of understanding or trying to help. You don't have to make it sound easy either, like you're advocating drugs or anything like that. Just, that sounds like an extreme phrase.
My
Zero
goal here
tolerance.
today is just giving the council an option to.
They have that now.
But they really don't. But they really don't. They do, but you can bet that every single person is gonna be in here, why did you give this person a second
You
chance?
just might have to defend it, that's all.
What?
You just might have to defend that decision.
Yeah, no, totally.
And that's okay, you can do that.
Right. Yeah, trust me, I defended many.
You can.
But
And
at
you
the
should.
same time, giving us an option to terminate if that situation were to come up. That's all I'm asking for today. Is we let our employees know that we are zero tolerance. And if the council votes to keep the next person or gives them a second chance, okay, fine. But it shouldn't be precedence that they automatically get a second chance. And that's what it is right now.
But you know what too, if somebody's eating a piece of bread with poppy seeds, it's gonna come up positive for THC.
Yeah.
We asked that and it's.
Yeah. You have to eat a large amount, but it will.
Yeah,
It will.
yeah. our test.
Yeah.
So don't eat poppy seeds, guys.
No, that's why
All
I
that
stay,
stuff
Or
is
ultimately to disclose.
I stay away from the bread.
Like I did with the Adderall, I disclosed before I had the
Yeah.
meeting, or the pop.
But see, some people
Some
aren't
people
that
don't- yeah,
educated on
they
that
don't
part,
know that there's
so
a
they
lot
wouldn't
of
know.
stuff, so I think they do need to know.
You know what I
You
mean?
take that drug test.
Some people really do not know that poppy seeds do cause THC levels in your urine or in your body. A lot of people really don't know. I'm serious. You could ask somebody on the street. If does poppy seeds, they will not tell you. They wouldn't know.
Okay, well, I wanna stay for, let's, get back on task.
I don't agree with how we drug test people. I mean, it seems like it's not a clean process, like, you know, how that person.
And it's not, and let's explain that process real quick. So that process is basically, Dennis gives them a call.
Yeah, usually 30 minutes before.
But sometimes we ask questions like, are your police officers gonna do duty tomorrow? To me, I think that's a clear indication, hey, we're gonna drug test tomorrow. I feel like it should be, I think, and I'm okay with that too, if we wanna go that route. But I think that our process is not up to par. I think that our process could definitely be better situated, and here's the reason. Okay, so I'm an employee, I'm up for a drug test, but I'm going to Albuquerque today. Then they shouldn't have to tell me, or tell my supervisor to keep me home tomorrow so that I can come and drug test, because that's gonna be a red flag, beep, drug test. What I should do is, I should be in Albuquerque, get a call from Dennis and say, hey, you got 30 minutes to get to this building for a drug test. Hey, drug test in Albuquerque. You got 30 minutes to be there. You got 30 minutes to be there. I'm not there in 30 minutes. What's up with that? But I think that we need to be more secure with our drug testing. I think it needs to be, and honestly, I don't even think they should tell you. Really, I think they should show up at the front door and say, we're here for a drug test. I need this person, this person, this person. I don't even think they should let anyone know. Me, anybody. They should show up one day and say, boom. We're drug testing.
And another thing I noticed, and I conveyed it to the drug testing company, is they always pick the Wednesday. So they always come on a Wednesday at 3 months. And when I told them, they didn't even notice that. They were surprised about that. So they're gonna randomize that as well, and try to come on a Monday or a Tuesday. But they didn't even catch
So,
that,
yeah.
or I was
What
putting
did you
a
not
little
like
time.
about it?
It just seemed like there was too, I mean, it wasn't, the process, I mean, just like, to me as a supervisor, I get like an email the day before, and I don't even tell my employees the next day, I'm like, here, you gotta go to the clinic. It just, to me, there's too much, like, an advance notice in a way.
And I think that's the issue, is the advance notice. I never liked the way we do drug tests. And this has been going on forever. I mean, I was an employee at the time at one point as a manager, and I would know. Oh, you're gonna be here tomorrow, right? Yeah, why? Just wondering. Okay.
That is the way it is right now currently.
I mean,
I think it should be spontaneous, because even a 5-minute notice, you have 5 minutes to get someone else here.
Like with me with the state, I work in Encino. They'll call us, we have exactly 1 hour to get from Encino to San Antonio take a pee-pee. So,
And that's enough time to go get someone else adjourned.
not in an hour, not in Encino.
Not really seen it. Santa Fe?
From Encino to Santa Fe, no, it's
1
eight-
hour?
it's 81 miles. So they give you 1 hour. So if you're out in the field, you need to
Well, I think we
go.
can definitely make adjustments to our testing policy, and we can talk to,
They give you
Ian,
1
like I
hour.
said. I would
One
prefer,
hour.
you don't even know. I would
Then a
prefer to
trip
show up
is
at the
to-
front door,
They
and if
used
you're
to
not
get-
there,
they're gonna get a truck.
unfortunately, you're not there, I mean,
Something like that, Peter, what you just said, I would be all over saying, hell yeah, let's do that. Cause it's random as heck with us over there and with us, I'm foreman qualified, I can send people that are under my district, but we go and it's random, they do hair follicle with us, so there's no hiding nothing.
I know.
And
I think that should be.
I'll give you guys spinal fluid, I've never done nothing in my damn life, I don't care, so I'm not afraid of a drug test, I go in, when we're happy as hell every day. But, so we do it so random, and then they take follicles because of pills and seeds and things like that of that nature that contain a test, so they separate all that.
Yeah, exactly.
With us anyway, and that's way more expensive, you know, it's expensive. And of course, that's a different kind of business I work for. But yeah, if you were talking about changing the policy as to how they know, if they know, when they know, how we do it, I'm all behind that. This is emotionally charged right here, this saying that, kind of the verbiage, you know what I mean? It's kind of saying
but
to
you
me.
still have the option. To me, what this says, to me as an employee right now, if I was an employee for the town, I would say, I get one chance. I mean, I get 2 chances with time on there. If, you know, if I'm at a party and, you know, my best friend says, hey, you wanna smoke? Absolutely, because I don't have nothing to worry about. The town's not gonna fire me, they're gonna give me a second chance. That's what I'm trying to say, like, it's, I don't know. And right now, like I said, I believe before this meeting, before this conversation right now, we were setting the precedent to giving people second chances, and I don't wanna do that. I wanna give you guys the option to say, no, we're gonna terminate, if we choose to. As a governing body, it would be up to you guys.
I still will give them the second chance.
So we have that option still.
We have that option.
Is there a way we could like, put that in writing, like we have a choice to?
Well, it's right
What's
there.
our-
It's right there.
Yeah, it says-
On a random drug test, including up to termination, it doesn't say including, or it doesn't say shall be terminated. It's up to, so you can still, we can still terminate, we can still give a second chance, that doesn't change. We're gonna vote on it as it comes to us. But I just wanna give us that option to terminate, because right now, the consensus among anyone, including council members, including members of the governing body, is automatic second chance. And I don't think that that's right. I think it's on a case-by-case basis, and I think if we terminate, or if we have the option to terminate, and we choose to terminate, I don't want them coming around and saying, what you gave Joe Blow a chance. Nothing's essentially changing, but I would just like for us to affirm, and that's all this resolution is doing, is affirm that we are a zero tolerance, and there's a possibility that in the future, we may terminate based on one drug test. That is an option that we have. And that's all I want to affirm here today. And that's all I want to affirm. Yes.
I was gonna say, why can't you want it on a case-by-case basis, why can't you just say that?
It is, it's on a case-by-case basis. Each one, every time
Right,
this comes
so-
up, this is one thing. I just want, so the only thing is, I just want to affirm that we can terminate. Because like I said, the consensus among council members, among employees, and I'm sure among residents, is if it's your first time, you're gonna get a second chance, no matter what. And I don't think that is the right mindset that everybody should have. I think the mindset should be, oh my God, I failed a drug test, I could be fired. I think that should be the mindset. And that's all I want, is to affirm that we have the ability to terminate on the first go-round.
And
The
I think
ability,
by
yeah.
saying
That's
zero
what I mean,
tolerance
like-
policy, it still fears people that say, oh, I can get fired on the first time. Doesn't mean you're gonna. You know, I mean, it's on a case-by-case basis, there are, you know, other things, but you have the
It's just
ability
the
to
precedence
do it.
that we've already set. We've set a precedence, and I want to change that precedence. I want the council, which they technically do have the ability to terminate on the first time. But I want to affirm that we are a drug-free employer. We really are, and we need to be. It's not a question. We need to be a drug-free employer. The option is still there. If we come for someone next council meeting, hopefully not. But if we do, you have the option. That's all I'm saying. You have the option to terminate. And I just want our employees to know, I want the public to know, I want the governing body to know that we have that option. That's it. That's all I'm asking for. I'm not asking to terminate everyone on the first one.
I think that's what the policy says, though, if we change it. I mean, again, you said it's an option, and then you mentioned that we don't have the option to terminate now, and we do, and we have. So I still like.
We have the option now, but the consensus is that we're gonna give them a second chance automatically because we have. So the next person that we bring before the council, hopefully never, but let's just say, if we fire them because we say, hey, wait a minute, this is heroin, for instance, as TJ said, this is heroin, you're fired. You can bet your butt that they're gonna go get an attorney and say, look at them people, they didn't get fired. Why did I? I'm just letting people know, the community know, our employers know, and the governing body know that we have the option of termination. And we have the ability to terminate on the first. That's it.
Yeah.
We have a policy that works, and we've proven that it works,
So your mindset is just always a second chance, no matter what. Always a second chance.
Yeah, because we have a policy that sends them to council.
So why even bring it to council then?
I didn't bring it to council.
Why? No, I'm saying if we have a failed drug test, why do I even bring it to council then?
Because that's part of your policy that puts them on a probation, that makes them go to counseling and sessions and all that, and gets them on a probationary period for 12 months, and if they mess up within that policy.
Well, we could do that without bringing it to council. I could put someone on probation, I could send them to.
Well, I'm not telling you to make you mad, I'm just telling you.
No, I'm not getting mad, I'm just saying, if the thing is automatic second chance, then why even bring it to council to decide? Why even make it a decision? Why not just make it, okay, you get a second chance, you'll meet with Dennis Wolfer the day after your drug test, he'll set you up with an SAP,
Well, that would
he'll
be,
set you up on probation, and we're good to go.
what you're saying there is for us to change the policy that's currently in place now. I'm not saying that either. I think what we have works. That's what I'm saying. Because they come up, and it's closed session to discuss it. They have to go to counseling, just like we've been saying. They are punished. And they do have it.
I still believe that the council should have the option to terminate that policy. Any other questions, comments, or can we get a motion? Let's go ahead and move on.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know, how does this work, guys, as far as motions and all this goes? Because I'm not for this. I don't support the way it's written or the way it says, and I like the current policy.
So you would motion to disapprove the resolution?
Or if somebody else puts it into motion to approve, and when it comes to the roll call, you would say no.
Either one.
Like I said, I mean, I don't pick on people that are not here, but could be someone here that's not from the community, don't have kids in the community, family young enough to work, and it's easy enough to say, yeah, get rid of anybody, get rid of them when they come up. But then you look at that and you look at the faces looking at you, and they're related to people, and they know people, and they grew up around people, looking right at me right now. And you're gonna tell those people, we don't care about your kids, we don't care about your family, one and done. That's how I feel. I'm not saying that's what we're saying.
What I'm saying is, unfortunately, you knew that we were a zero tolerance drug, and you chose to be drug. And unfortunately, there's a consequence to everything you do in life.
I know that consequence is there. It's already there.
I'm the business manager at the school, I can't imagine that if I failed a drug test, that I would have my job the next day. I can't say that I would. I'm pretty positive I would not. There's options that we have, and I just want us to.
I know that I would. And if I failed the drug test tomorrow, I'd have my job. I'd be out of a lot of money for not working for 6 months. I'd have to go through counseling, so just like kind of what we're doing here. I'd have all that, but I'd have a chance under our policy. But I don't really want to bring in other policies because this isn't my job, this isn't.
All right, so let's,
I just feel like we're reading too much into it. What I'm hearing, we still get a second, to the discretion of the council for the next.
I think the discretion of the council is still there with the current policy. And we have it, we've proven it. That's what I'm saying. Anyway, I'm not gonna make a motion, but I will vote against the current as it's written.
When Dennis, did you read the policy?
Yes, because we initially got one when we were in, I believe it was passed out to us in closed session in one of those first meetings, yes. I still have it too. I didn't bring it, but I still have it. Well, that left the room quiet, didn't it? It's part of hard things of being on council, right?
Well,
So I'm not for it as it's written, I mean, as it comes off. I believe in the policy we have, it's proven itself. We live it, we live here, it's proven itself. To be able to determine, to be able to punish, to be able to assess, punishment on someone who's doing it, and if it repeats, and we've proven that already. I don't like going a little further. I mean, not even a big conglomerate like who I work for does that. I don't know what you guys do, I really don't, because I don't practice knowing how everybody
discretion of
goes.
the, the four supervisors at the time. I mean, some supervisors come and bargain, and the next one wants to be around.
So there's obviously differences in everyone.
and there would still be differences here. We can choose to stay or we can choose to not. I mean, I just wanted to affirm that we have the option to terminate and not be said, well, you let all them get off free. That's all I'm saying with that.
I think saying that they got off free is not fair. They didn't get off free, you know what I mean?
They kept their job.
They kept their job, they did. Zach, you could say that.
Okay, I will say that.
I mean, I'm not saying to say, I just don't think it's.
Noted.
So you have an agenda item, I think.
See where it goes, and I make a motion to approve the resolution 2019-06, first termination of the town monitor is a zero tolerance in Florida regarding drug abuse.
I second that.
We have a motion by Adrian, a second by Juanita. Roll call, Richard.
Against?
Adrian.
Four.
Juanita.
Four.
Ernie.
Against.
4. Motion passes. Moving on, approval of using Kathy Anglin to cover billing clerk position during Tyler Tech Technology training. Tyler Tech training. So, Tyler Tech we are very close to going online. You will see your bills online, you will be able to pay online. Well, one of my major promises was to bring Mount Air into the 21st century.
Thank you.
That's what we did, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah,
The
we are too.
employers get direct deposit. Woo! No more picking up checks, no more standing in line at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We are close, we are months away, so I'm really excited about that. Going on from that, there's a lot of training that needs to happen. Obviously, Dennis, Phyllis, and Esperanza are going to be doing tons of training. They're coming in, to set up stuff, but that's not gonna cause us to shut down. But what I want is to kind of get approval ahead of time for Kathy Anglin to cover the front desk area. Kathy's done a really good job in the past. Obviously, we have to check her availability and see if she's able to cover it, but I don't think that she would have an issue with it. But there's gonna be times when we train, and we're gonna have to close the front office. I mean, there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But I'm hoping that we can approve this. If we approve this, we pay her, she's in front, they're in the back training.
Yeah, that sounds good, I mean, it helps everybody. Town keeps running and our current employees get trained.
Absolutely.
So we can call in our bills then, no, instead of going in.
It's actually good, to come up 21st century. As a matter of fact, we just got my dad, Jose, Richard Clotis, the council member, a smartphone. He wanted a flip phone, but.
And I forget to turn it off and everybody hears.
And my mom's on the internet now too.
Trader, that's good. Nice.
Yeah, I'm excited, it's a big step forward. And it's something
That's
that
one, we don't,
we want to do. I know, some of the people that, usually attend, and they're not here tonight, but I know that they lived out of state at one point, and they would always have to like send their check like, you know, a month in advance in order for it to get here. Sometimes it would just be like $500 line. But now they'll be able to log on from far away and pay and.
that's great.
Yeah.
Good job,
Good
Mr.
stuff.
Did you say dates?
We do not have dates yet. So it's gonna be mid-April, but instead of bringing it, so what I'm worried about is that it just like kind of pops up, because they may, I mean,
Yeah,
sometimes
it's
they
actually might
call.
start Monday.
Sometimes they call and they're like, we have training today, and so like we have to drop everything and kind of train on that. So we're really at the mercy of Tyler Technology. So I just want to approve it beforehand, so that way we have the opportunity to call Kathy and say, hey, are you available this Wednesday? We have training. Yes, I am, or no, I'm not. Simple as that. If she's not, we close. If she is, we stay open. MVD will not be affected. So MVD portion will still be open. It would just be the town hall portion. And there's still the availability to drop your payments off at the drop box. If we were to close.
Kathy's okay?
Wait, something.
On board? I'll make a motion for approval of using Kathy England to cover building clerk positions during the Tyler Tech training.
Yeah, a motion by Ernie, a second by Richard. Roll call, Richard? Four. Adrian? Four. Linda? Four. Ernie? Four. Motion passes. Okay, police department. Oops. You guys come up with one.
We handled approximately 38 calls for service this month, including animal control and code enforcement. Officers issued approximately over 22 citations for the second part of this month. Officer Torres issued 5, Officer Weaver 12, Officer Martinez 8. Our ACO code enforcement, 3 citations. Most of these resulted in PA fines, which nobody fought, nobody wants to go to court. They pleaded guilty. PA? Penalty assessment. Okay, we had a child abuse investigation going on the last part that I reported. A safe house interview for the victim revealed that there was no sexual abuse. That case is closed. Crash reports for this month were 2. We had 1 burglary and 1 larceny report for the month of March. Now, in that, we get a lot of reports that are generated during the month where people claim that it's burglary. And then after we do the investigation, it's not a burglary. They left the door open, somebody came in, took something. There's certain elements that have to be present in a crime. So if they reported a burglary to the dispatch center and we determine the investigation was a larceny, then it's going to be a larceny. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on with that. Item number 4, there's still the outstanding wanted person on Chris Gutierrez. We have searched a lot of places here in Mount Air and the surrounding areas for this individual based on leads that have been provided through the Metro Crime Stoppers and people calling myself and the detectives that are working this case. He is not in Mount Air because we know for a fact that people don't want him here because they don't want to go to jail for harboring a felon. That's already been established. And anybody that does let him into their house, for whatever reason, you will be arrested if that person is caught in your house, plain and simple. That's already been situated by the DA's office, that they're working with the FBI and other federal agencies. This guy, once he gets caught, he's looking at some serious time. So he's staying away from here and going wherever he's going. The leads have been really good. We've gotten some really good leads from a lot of people here, and we've checked them all out. And then they turned out that nobody knows him, or he was there 1 week or 2 weeks ago. We're looking for a lead that says, he's here right now. That way we can go to the community favor on that. We responded to approximately 4 medical calls in town that So the officers responded. We responded to a suspicious vehicle just the other day at the 7-Eleven, which resulted in an unattended death of a male subject from Washington State. OMI responded and advised us, I just got the call yesterday, that the individual died of natural causes. He had a long-time disease, but the poor man died behind the 7-Eleven. Yeah. And we haven't found any Mexican or anything. This little three-legged dog was taken into custody, but we got an adoption already for that. So a lady from here, from out there somewhere, is gonna take the three little doggy. So,
No next to kin for this guy?
no, none at all. They've already sent all his information on the data banks and, oh my, cannot find anybody to come and say, you should have seen this truck, it was his whole life in there. We had to literally take him out because he was so crunched in there, and it was sad. One of the saddest ones.
What happens to him?
He was dying.
No, I mean like,
Oh,
burial-wise.
burial, since there's no body to claim, OMI has 30 days for the family to claim, and if somebody doesn't claim them, they put them in a wooden box in an undisclosed grave in the county. That's how it's buried. That's what they do with anybody that we can't identify and so forth. It was a sad situation.
Undisclosed, they wouldn't even put his name on there?
No. Because, I mean, his name, to put like a marker of this name, the county and the state's not gonna pay that money. So they'll just put him in a wooden box and take him to a cemetery and boom.
No, they cremate them.
Yeah.
They cremate them and they just leave them like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but with no name, that's
Usually
Yeah,
some
they-
people will come forward and pay for the cremation, but, yeah, it's a sad deal.
So we can't pay it, that was $800.
So
Come on.
OMI will know where he's buried in case down the line a family member comes?
Yeah.
That shows
He's
up.
probably got a number.
Yeah, they gotta keep tabs on all that stuff. So, it was a sad situation, it really was. It was bad. Our department in the town is now registered to participate in the National Night Out program set for August the 6th of this year. It's a national night out in the United States, and we've acted to participate. They'll send us all kinds of materials to pass out to the town to let everybody know. It's pretty cool, you know, you can block off your streets, have, you know, block parties and all that. Meet your neighbors if you don't know your neighbors or don't want to know them. It's a pretty cool thing. It really is.
So hey, Stanfield.
We'll be out talking to the public and we'll help out with whatever. We obtained free training for Officer Spotis and Leeward. They're right now attending the James McGrain Officer Survival Course in Albuquerque. That's free to all law enforcement. So they sent those officers to participate and meet other officers from other agencies and get some good training. I think it's like the 26th annual. We have it every year. We have some awesome training there. They really do. We obtained a new camera, body cam. It's called a Cop Track. And we're using it because that is eventually going to replace the current cameras that were in place by the former administration, the Axon. We found that the Cop Track cameras are more user-friendly. You plug them in, you record, it downloads, you have all your videos there, whereas the Axon gets sent to a company in Houston, and then you gotta pay $4,000 a year for them to maintain your video. That is just too much money for this town. I couldn't do that to you guys. So this one, we download here, it's secure, and then we make copies, so that way we can we put them in evidence. So when we go to court and we have to present on discovery videos, we have them, and we don't have to pay anybody, except just buying the cameras. So they've been working out very well, actually. We have used some funding, excess funding that was approved when we bought the 2018 Dodge Ram unit. Dennis and I worked on that for a while. We finally got all the quotes in, so we had a little extra money, so we're gonna, in the black and white truck that you guys see right now, we're gonna buy a couple of more items so we can use that money or else we lose it. So might as well use it to buy upgrade it.
Nice truck.
Yeah, they're very nice trucks, actually, and USDA has been very, very helpful. They came out and did a really good thing with the mayor and us, Friday, was it Friday?
As long as I don't have to ride in the back of it.
We know you won't, man.
Yeah,
We know.
hopefully.
Another thing too, under the animal shelter, Mayor Nieto and I approved a spray neuter clinic, for spring, right, Mayor?
Yes.
Okay, they're gonna be bringing a big old trailer. I guess we're gonna put it over there at the,
They need running hot water, so we have not determined the location yet. So maybe fire department possibly if they would allow us, or, yeah, they need a covered area with hot water running. So that's really our only location other than the public works, but I doubt that we would, we would have to see.
but if you need spray neutering, they're gonna have people come in and they'll do that surgery right there in this trailer.
What is the price on that?
It's very cheap. I wanna say the most is $50. But, and they will help you if you can prove that you're like, unable to pay.
That's pretty good.
Indigent.
Pretty nice deal. And the animal shelter volunteers are working on all the logistics, so they're helping us out. Recently, I joined the FBI LEADA program for police executives. What that does is provide free management police training for chiefs of police, sheriffs, and it also offers free courses for police officers. So once we're registered, it's not costing us anything. We can get these classes online and then give them to the officers so they're up to date and they're free. They just gotta get online. Pretty cool stuff in there. Excuse me. Thursday, all the officers, including myself, will be attending 8 hours of free training again at the Edgewood Police Department for DWI SFST. That is, we need that training in order to participate in these DWI programs that are coming up, because we're gonna be doing a lot of work with state police and the sheriffs, so you're gonna see roadblocks. And we need to be certified in that, because when we get funding from the state, those are requirements that we have to do. Again, free training. I'm hitting everything and everybody for anything. If I can get it free, let's do it. So it's a lot of hard work trying to talk to people. That's why I know, that you have to go ask for this. So I understand that. Another item that's not listed in there that is gonna go in hand with the mayor's, the sensors for the gunshots. We're putting together an active shooter training. Probably it's gonna be around the summer or right before school ends, where we're gonna involve our department, staff, EMS, and fire, where we're gonna do like a scenario base, and then retrain the staff, retrain how to respond. Myself, I'm an active shooter instructor, so I'm gonna go ahead and retrain the staff, police, and so forth, and then we're gonna have the actual mock scenario, where we actually, somebody calls into dispatch saying there's an active shooter at the school, and then everybody's gonna respond according to their duties and setting up staging areas, so that way nobody goes and an actual real one gets hurt. The sensors were the best thing that we can do, because that correlates with this training, where it identifies the biggest problems that active shooters, police departments encounter, is they don't know where the subject's at. But if we can narrow that down, where the subject's at, where he's contained, we can address that threat and deal with it properly. So if you see sirens blasting and all that, it might be a mock, or it might be the real thing, you never know. But we'll let the time know. So any questions on anything that is, that I've stated, any questions on any of these items?
I just have a question as far as like ACO. I know it's kind of like the stuff that Kenny brought up before your time, as far as the cleaning and the maintenance. Like you drive around town, like nothing has been done in those buildings. I'm like, where is that at?
The ones that we already did, or the ones that are doing right now? So the ones that we already did, our public works is down to 4. They're the ones that are gonna do that.
So they have to do that? Or
Yeah, well,
the property owners never?
well, yeah, the property, the ones that we already approved, the property owners have the 90 days and they, or whatever it was, and they didn't do nothing. We advertised it, they didn't do nothing. So right now, it's our step, it's our thing to do it. Now, I mean, I guess we could we hire out and have it done and then, but we would have to pay and then we would be stuck losing that money until they, yeah, so really having our maintenance guys go in there and wipe something down
Yeah.
is the better thing. But right now, I mean, right now, you see how behind they are, we don't even.
No, that makes sense, I just didn't, we haven't had an update on it, I was just curious.
Yeah, right now.
But he has sent out some letters.
Yes, absolutely. Steve already has 4 new properties that have not been abated by the council already. One of them is the one that you and I talked about on 55. We're trying to find the owners. He's already sent letters out past the 60 days, and nobody's responding. So once they don't respond, and they pass that, then we go into the next step, and then the last step is coming to the council for the abatement.
Yeah.
But some people have been cooperating. Some people have actually written back and said, okay, help, can I do this, can I do that? We're good with that. But the ones that don't do anything are the ones that probably end up with you guys.
And that's our intention. Our intention is not to be like, you need to clean it up and you have 20 days. If they come to us and they say, look, I need, 6 months, give me some time. Absolutely, we're gonna give them some time. But we need to see progress on that property. We can't just, 5 months down the road and if nothing's done, obviously they're not gonna care. They're not gonna wait until the last minute, you know what I mean? But we are giving people chances if they come to us and they say, look, I wanna clean up, let me clean up, but here's what I gotta do.
Yeah, no, they've been doing very well. Even the grandfather ones that, like, Turner, right here, he's actually gonna cooperate with us, because we told him, you got vehicles on easement, and they have to be removed, so we're serving him with the official letters and saying, anything on your grandfather's laws, you're good to go. But out of here, you're on city property, now you're gonna have to move it. He's like, okay, let me get a tow truck, let me do that. So they're getting compliance, and it's kind of nice to get that from people that have a lot of junk in their front yards. We're going up to them, and Steve is going up to them and telling them, look, this is what's going on, how can we help you? Instead of just giving them a citation and being hardcore.
And as crazy as it sounds, there's people that, it may look like something to you, but to them, it's not, you know what I mean? So, us notifying them and just saying, hey, this is a problem and here's why. This is why this is a problem. They're cooperating, I mean, they're not. So, but those properties, we really need to get this police department knocked down, the old one, and then we'll.
Well, that's fine, I just didn't. I was curious.
He got the letters.
That's the action one. You might even do like 6 months.
Yeah, the mayor and I and Steve went around town and he told us of certain properties that were abated. Especially the ones that were in and out of town. Those are the ones that I got Steve on. He's working on that. The guy's doing a fantastic job. Even based on everything else. He is, this guy, I'll tell you what this guy's doing. This month, he had 13 adoptions. Or was that 50? That's 50. I don't have my glasses on, sorry. 1 adoption, 8 complaints of animals running at large, 3 citations, code enforcement. He is really working it to try to keep up with the demand. And we have the same people violating the same thing. How many citations can we give them, right? We just say, keep going. Because until they realize that it's costing them money and the manpower to chase your dog down just by putting him in your front yard. And we had a little older gentleman that was, I won't mention any names. We've given him many breaks. Finally, we just said, we just can't do this anymore. We gotta give you a cite. So he goes, okay, here you go. Then next week, the same thing. So, pobrecito, we're working with it.
As a matter of fact, we'll be there tomorrow.
Help us out, man. Give us
tomorrow we have court.
Make a bigger fence.
Oh, really?
You know if the LEPF passed with 2,000
Yes, court
As
tomorrow.
far as I know, the Senate did, and I think the governor's gonna sign it. I think that also an increase for the 600 to 1,000 for DPS. Yeah, I haven't heard any opposition on that. Those are really good bills for us because it gives us a little bit more money in funding. And funding is all about it right now. I mean, you can get the money from anybody. Highly recommend it. That's the only way you can survive, really. It gets that bad sometimes. But yeah, we're looking at everything. But I'll call my contacts to the New Mexico Chiefs of Police Association, and I'll find out, because I know it was in the Senate, and before they got out, I think they did pass it, but I'll get a confirmation on that. It'd be awesome. Any questions?
So nothing for you, it's going into abatement and, you know, dumping trash, and I bugged the mayor a few times, there's no option to buy those tickets on the weekend, I'm like, is that?
So that's nothing to do with him, that has to do with the Stockton Valley Solid Waste Authority. And so, at our last board meeting that we had, it was recommended by the acting, and the manager himself, that they wanted to kind of go to a non-tip ticket kind of way, where basically it would kind of be associated with the town. Now, Tyler Tech would help us, our new program would help us, but it was kind of talked about basically like you take your bill, okay, I would take my bill over there, they would mark my name down, mark my address down. Then at the end of the month, they let the town hall know. Town hall would then technically bill you, collect the money, and send it to them, essentially is what it sounded like. Now, Moriarty's very much against this, probably because of logistics, because they have probably a lot more people, you know, going to the dump sites. But, so I don't know how far it's gonna go. It's a governing body just like ours, so, I mean, they only have 2 votes, we have 2 votes, you know, everyone has 2 votes. We can probably pass it to go that way, but it really depends on how the manager wants to go. But one of the complaints, or one of the things that I said for that particular reason is the reason for Saturdays. I don't know how many times I've been called personally by someone to go to town hall and get a tip ticket and then go sell it, you know, because it's really bad that we don't have a place that sells it on the weekend. So we understand that, we know it's a problem. We try to get the drugstore does sell them, but sometimes their hours are a little bit iffy, or, you know, things like that. We have not talked to the B Street, and maybe the B Street would be interested. So B Street is open, who knows? Who knows? Yeah, we have places that are open on the weekend, I mean, it's really just, and they make like $1 off of it, basically, they get 10 tickets, and then they have to supply $100 back to them or whatever, and then, you know, if they charge $11 or $12, they get to keep that extra $1 or $2. So. But yes, the East Ontario Valley Solid Waste is aware of the issue, really it's kind of making that change. Is it gonna be changed, it's done probably within the next 6 months? I would say highly doubt it. But.
So you're stuck with your trash.
No, take it to Peter.
Start buying your tip tickets on Friday like everybody else.
So we can ask Fred, and,
Yeah, we can ask them. Yeah, absolutely. We did this drug thing. Let's do that.
yeah, let me know.
Yeah, I knew it was like every other weekend. I'm like, how much trash do you have?
That's not me, it's people asking me.
It's asking for a friend.
I should just buy 100 and then just start like selling them for 15 on the weekend.
Well, Lita, you got that dumpster at your house.
I paid for 2 for the county.
No, but we can throw it in your dumpster.
I paid for 2.
Honestly.
I paid 54 for my dumpster and 65 for the.
All right, Public Works, he's not here today.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna All right, beginning Monday, February 25th to Friday, March 8th, the workers on call were Daniel Archuleta and Vince Lopez. They did not read meters during this 2-week period. Number of water line problems, 0. Number of gas line problems, 0. Number of road service, 7. They service Roosevelt, Manzano and Highway 60, 5th and Hanlon, 5th and Ripley, Orem, Dunn and Highway 60, Ross and Cedar. The sewer plant was serviced on 225, 227, 31, 34, 36, and 38. No sewer problems. They did not have any gas injections. Actually, I think they did. Equipment service, they did the dump truck, the backhoe, and the road grader. They employee serviced those vehicles on 21. They had to fix a lot of stop signs with the wind that we had the other day. So they were out fixing stop signs. They're doing an amazing job. I'm really excited. They're doing awesome. They are fixing potholes left and right, everywhere I turn, every other road. They're grading roads. I mean, they are on it, and they are doing amazing, amazing things, and I'm really, really happy for them. And there was one other thing that I was going to say.
Not mine.
The odorizer project's coming up, so we're gonna have some big expenditures. We need to spend about $19,000 for phase 2 of the odorant project, and then phase 3 will be in after July. It's a fiscal year project we've been working on?
They helped with the court room, they helped clean that out, and install all the bathroom fixtures and all that kind of stuff, so that's close to being done, and yeah, I mean, they're rocking it.
Yeah, they're gonna be graveling back here, right by the multipurpose building, right next to the church, they're gonna complete the gravel over there, so they'll have a place to farm. And we're gonna be tearing down that one abatement of our own on the east side, or south side, that one kind of wooden structure. I went and put a work order for them to tear that down as well. We got a wooden structure on the south side of town that we've been giving out abatements, and everybody's been saying, well, why don't you tear it on your own? And so we are.
Yes, sir.
Question, Roosevelt, where I live, about 15 feet of the road is already eroding out, where it's paved.
I know exactly what you're talking
That's
about.
not good. And then around the turn by my house to go towards your sister's house, there's a pothole about that big, about 18 inches around, about 8 inches deep. That needs to be fixed.
Are you gonna be at the next council meeting?
Oh, yeah.
You'll thank him in person. We'll get it done.
Thank you.
He has one too.
No,
Appreciate it.
I like mine.
No, just
I
because
know, right, right.
whenever you go around the turn, you have to go into the other lane.
You like
And if you go in the other lane and somebody's coming, then you have to, you know
I
what I mean?
haven't seen the turn, but I've seen where it washed out.
Yeah, it's washed out. It's already
Yeah.
getting into the lane, just to save the road, you know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely.
People.
But yeah, they are doing a good job though. They are fixing the road, which is great. It does look good.
Do you have a comment?
No.
Okay. All right, moving on.
I just wanna say one thing. I know that water tower at the high school's been like dripping for a long time, and I think Daniel and everyone go look at it, but I know it's almost like a rust spot there, so I don't know if there's been like a new assessment of that water tower in a while. I don't know, maybe Richard, you can speak of it, why it's leaking like that, but.
Well, it's rusted out. When Fred Black came, we were talking about that, and basically we're gonna have to drain it and do some work on the inside as well as the outside. It's gonna be a high-dollar project. And we gotta do it at a time where we can drain it, because that's where all the water comes from. Our tank, water tank at the park feeds that and the rest of it, and that feeds the town with gravity. So, am I correct with that, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, that's our main tank.
Yeah, I know, just people kept on telling me, I'm like, well,
Yeah, I get that.
I was trying to remember, I can't remember everything that goes on past me.
Yeah,
it's
no,
definitely
we're aware of
one
it, but it's high dollar, and it's something that unfortunately right now that's keeping leaking. You know, it's not leaking major, I mean, it's not like, I mean, it's leaking, but it's not like.
It kind of goes back to that public works administrator position. It's somebody who needs to be able to give all these projects the attention it deserves and dive into.
Thank you for joining us for the past 3 hours.
As a volunteer, I just love being here.
I should have told you to come like around 8.
Are we all set?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thanks, everyone. My name is Carol Glade, and I'm serving as the acting EMS director since November at the request of the mayor. And I'm doing that because of the retirement of the former EMS chief retirement. I want to give you an update a little bit more on the things than I gave you in February, and I'm sorry I haven't been able to get here before that. But basically, as we all know, the whole EMS function is a very important function in this town. When people move to an area, they're going to ask a couple things. How's your police? How safe is the community, right? And fire and EMS. Those are the 3 basic things that people look at because they make the whole public safety aspect of the town, which is so important. If I know I've used our own EMS unit myself for my own family, I'm sure some of you have, and I'm sure at some point we all will. So it's really important to have a good, responsive, available EMS unit. And Mountaineer is in a very unique position because we have a PRC-approved ambulance. We almost lost that, but we have it, and I want to report to you that we are now in compliance with everything that we have to do. That doesn't mean we still have more things to do, but the key things now. So I'm a licensed EMT, but I've never served in this supervisory management aspect before. And let me tell you that it is complicated, and it's time consuming, and it is important, and it also has a lot of liability and responsibility for the town. Because in the past, fire and EMS are basically 2 separate departments by ordinance of the town. It's functioned somewhat casually with the town. There hasn't been a whole lot of oversight and communication back and forth between the council and fire and EMS. I'm not sure why they're two separate departments, because we're all pretty much the same people. But let me just kind of give you some of the things we have to do. EMS is regulated by the Department of Transportation, the New Mexico Health Department, PRC, the Board of Pharmacy, on and on and on and on. And I can tell you just the paperwork alone is daunting. It's daunting. But we have some really good volunteers. At this point, every year, or in the past few years, we've had almost 280 calls last year. We've had about 39 calls already this year. And our staff is on the cusp. Let's just say all of our operations are somewhat on the cusp. Nationwide, fire departments take more EMS and medical calls than they do fire calls. And a lot of that is because fire departments have worked really hard for fire prevention and fire education and all of that. So when the fire calls hit, they're usually more dangerous, more severe, structure fires, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Here in Mount Air, or EMS, we have Superior as a backup, and the mayor has arranged for AMR, which is stationed in Berlin, as the second backup, or what we call mutual aid. I can tell you that one of my neighbors waited 1 hour and a half for Superior. Today, we waited a good 50 minutes for Superior. And the reason Superior came was because we had 2 calls at the same time. I was here in town, I could respond, but we didn't have a driver. Because by law, to run a PRC ambulance, you must have 2 trained EMTs, licensed EMTs, for all calls. Now, again, the mayor's been good to reach out to PRC to get a waiver, which would allow us to run with 1 EMT and a DOT licensed driver. So the problem today was we didn't have 2 EMTs. I could take the ambulance out, but I could not transport. I can't put the patient next to me as I'm driving. So we had to wait for another driver. Then we got another call, and we were able to get 2 other people over to the high school. So my point with all of this is that we're functioning. We have told dispatch that we are not available for calls at night now because we just don't have a crew. We have basically 5 licensed EMTs. 1 which is an intermediate, so they can do certain kinds of drugs. She and I both live a good 20 to 25 minutes out, so it's not like we can just turn around and get here, so we try to stage in town. Of the 5 EMTs that we have, licensed EMTs, 3 of us are over 62. And the other 2 are younger. We have 4 pending licensing. They've taken the class, but they have to pass the license, and they're really good at responding. And we have some other fire department members who are acting as drivers. The problem is people work, they're out of town, they have families, they do other things. So sometimes we cannot always get a crew. I tell you this because essentially there's a lot to become an EMT. We're trying to get a class set up in the fall, but only certain agencies and entities can offer the training, and only UNM is the only entity that will come here to do it, so our people don't have to go to UNM in Albuquerque. It's a cost of about $1,000 a person. It's 180 hours of training, and then you have to do, after that, your clinicals, and after your license, then you have to do another 30 to 35 hours a year of continuing ed units. So it's a daunting thing to ask people to volunteer. Don't ask me why we do it, but we do it. I will tell you very honestly that we are functioning on the edge. We are functioning on the edge. I would say we have to go for a year in reorganization. It takes a year pretty much to get an EMT trained and experienced in their clinicals and licensed and tested and all of that. So again, luckily we have 4 people who are pending, but to get any more people, and we have people interested, it's going to take us a year. We have basically three assets: money, vehicles, and people. So let me tell you about money. I don't know how many of you know this, but our funds all come from the EMS fund, and the state fund is based on how many licensed people you have and at what level. We get about $8,000 a year. $8,000 is to cover training, the ambulance, all supplies, everything. Okay, we've instituted billing. We cannot bill unless we transport. So if we care for someone and they refuse medical treatment, or, you know, it's a fall and the person says, no, I'm fine, and whatever, we get no billing from that at all. If we take the patient, which we do most of the time, to Willard to transfer to Superior, we may get a few dollars. But until we can transfer people to the hospital, there's not going to be big billing for EMS. Is that possible? Yes. However, we need a vehicle that's able to get us there. And I will tell you, our vehicle, again, is a functioning on the edge. I laugh and I say it's held together with chewing gum and paper clips. It's barely meeting DOT standards and barely meeting safety standards. It's an old ambulance. We need a new ambulance. Now, we've submitted 2 applications, one to FEMA and one to the state. We have not heard back from either of those, and Dennis and I have a meeting tomorrow with USDA about trying to tap them for an ambulance. An ambulance runs anywhere, a decent ambulance 4-wheel drive runs anywhere from $185,000 to $240,000. And that doesn't include all the equipment. Because they have a heart monitor, you're talking another $20,000 to $30,000. So EMS equipment is not inexpensive. People, well, we need people, and again, it costs us at least $1,000 to get them trained. And we need people to answer calls. We need a good ambulance to take them there, to relate in billing, so that we'll have enough money to have this all thing work. And so here's my commitment in that I would serve in this position until the end of 2019. But I can tell you from what I've learned, and I've learned a lot, that this is a key position. This is a key town position. This is a town department, and the town needs to really look at it seriously as to making it a, for lack of a better word, a legitimate position. And I would really highly recommend that you look at hiring an EMS director. Because you need somebody who can supervise, who can organize training, who can maintain the vehicles, who can work with billing, who can get all the reporting and compliance. Because if EMS is not in compliance, the town is on the hook big time financially. So I would recommend combining maybe EMS and fire. That's very common. Hiring a EMS, maybe there are 2 part-time positions, maybe 1 full-time position. Looking at the whole concept from a broader public safety perspective, and just know that I will be willing to work any way I can until the end of the year. I'll still stay as an EMT after that, but I retired once, maybe twice, maybe 3 times before, and I kind of like to retire again. So I don't know if anyone has any questions about EMS. I'd be glad to answer those.
No, I just want to thank you very much for everything that you do. You do a lot for EMS.
Thank you. Well, you've been very supportive.
And we understand, you know, that it is a big issue. Did you mention the grant? You did put in the grant for...
Oh yeah, we did. I just finished a grant for FEMA for what's called a SAFER grant for hiring fire personnel. And it's a 3-year grant where the feds would pay 70% for the first 2 years, and the town would pay 30%. And then the last year it reverses. The town would pay 70%, and the feds would pay 30%. It's a wish list,
right? You
know. But one of the things is, and again, I think as the council, you need to think about this. Right now, EMS and fire are 2 separate departments, even though we're sort of all the same people. But EMS reports to New Mexico in what they call NEMSTARS, which is EMS reporting, and fire reports to NFIRS, which is the National Fire Incident Reporting System. If we could combine those 2 things, if we could combine the department into having reports, instead of having 90 calls and 280, we'd have 300 and some, and that is huge for funding, huge for funding. And utilization of radios and equipment and all that kind of stuff would go a long way. And I want to say thank you to the police chief also, because police has played a huge role in and being on most of these calls, so it's been really helpful.
So what do we gotta do to combine the two? I know Bill has talked about that in the past.
Yes. Really, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get both Chief and Carol, and we'll talk about what we need to do, and we'll get that plan in motion, so that way the council can vote on it and put those entities together. So really, I think it's just passing an,
We'll have to rescind the ordinance that was in place that separated the two, and then we'll create a new ordinance to combine the two.
Carrie, do you want to come up and chime in too, because, you know, fire and EMS are so closely related. We're like the brotherhood. And we're always looking for volunteers too, by the way, so. The other thing I want to say is Peter also kind of coordinated getting a county EMS committee getting started, and that's been helpful. This is an issue all across the country. Mountaineer is positioned perfectly to be a regional EMS headquarters, because we can go out in all different directions. Right now, we have to wait for Superior to come from McIntosh. So, I do that.
Yeah. Mine's is short, not like hers.
Well, we're so close together.
On the fire side, we did have one structure fire. We had one car fire, well, it was a truck fire actually. And we only had one grass fire, 7 EMS assist. We do have pump testing on the 30th. And we have radioactive class again on the 12th, 13th of April. I think Philip said spoke with you on that. And we should be getting an SCBA filling station. That's donated by TRC Fire Station. We should get it about 30th, hopefully. And engine 3, we got back from the shop, and so far seems to be running pretty good. Hopefully for a while again.
perfect.
And that's it on that side.
You know, between EMS and fire, we're talking probably $1 million worth of equipment. And that's another reason, I think, to look at having continuous oversight, supervision. I just looked through the grant, at the average age now of fire, we have, what, 24 volunteers. There are a few of us 60 and older. And the average age is about 30, where we have a lot of teenagers or young people. So they need supervision, training, and mentoring. And that really is almost a full-time position. So keep the volunteers, but the management needs to be much more consistent.
That's good for the kids.
Another thing that's happening, she mentioned the county-wide, the county seemed to agree that the South needs something over here. And right now they're looking at Willard because they own the fire station there in Willard. And I've constantly told Commissioner Javier that Mountain Air is key location. It really is. I mean, we hit the mountain communities, we hit Willard, we hit Abo, obviously Mountain Air. And not only that, but we have something that Willard does not have, and that is a huge, huge helicopter port, landing pad that is top notch, ready to go. So I'm hoping that he gives us at least the opportunity to try to get it here rather than just automatically going to Willard. So we will see how that discussion goes, but if we can get that help, which the county would control the EMS unit in wherever they choose in the south, and then we would have Superior in the north, it would be much better, obviously, for all of us, because they would transport all the way to Albuquerque. Now, there still are those times where there's call after call, and one's gone and we gotta wait for Superior, or even AMR. But if the county goes forward with putting a station towards the south of Torrance County, that's gonna be a game changer. It really is.
I will say, though, that they want our PRC license. So,
Oh, well, we're not gonna give it to Willard, so.
oh, yeah, no.
That's an easy thing to do, just
The
kidding.
PRC license is very important, very important.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a
Public Regulation Commission.
But, yeah, I mean, I mentioned to you guys when I first mentioned the retirement of all of our EM, well, a big group of our EMS, it's not gonna be an easy way out. I mean, it's a lot of hard work, and she's doing the brunt work of it. I know our volunteers are. I mean, they are rocking it, and we obviously can't do it without the volunteers, and we are indebted to you guys, and we appreciate it.
Well, thank you. No, she does a great job. So I don't do fires, she does EMS and fires. So thank you, everyone. So I will say one other thing, and that is
combining EMS and fire and having an administration, paid administration, funding is much more available for them. Huge time funding. So I think, I haven't run the numbers, but I think it's all doable and all payable and coverable. And maybe we try it as a pilot program for a couple of years. See how it goes.
She has a question.
One question that I have, I work at school and I go back and forth. I've seen some young men up there during the day. What's their reasoning for being there?
At the fire station?
Fire station.
Oh, we have a few of them, there's a few that are young. When they leave school, we allow them to be there and they'll be working on helping. We have another firefighter who's always there, working on trucks or the department, because our department is like the ambulance held up with duct tape. And they
Don't say
come and
that
they
in
help. And they come and they help, they clean, they take out the trucks, they'll wash them, we have to regularly take them out. We're right, and sometimes we can't do that, so they'll take them out and make sure they're filled. But they are supervised.
We have a lot of young dedicated people, which is good. They see it as a career path, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is great.
And that's what I was gonna say, a lot of the young ones that are doing it, they love fire and they see it as their calling and it's awesome.
Weird about people who love fire.
Yeah.
Because I saw there that we paid for 304 to.
They're going to
train.
firefight, yeah, they're in, I think we have 3 of them going.
I think so.
Yeah, to get certified, right? 4?
Yeah, the 4 went. Can't remember their names. But I know 4 of them went. Anthony,
Christopher.
AJ.
Derek.
Yeah, to get everybody up to firefighter 1 is really important again for funding, to get all those levels up. And what a lot of departments are doing